for winning games and killing people. So I don't know, it could be a bit different to a regular LAN, but usually most players are feeling a lot of excitement rather than nerves, unless it's the first time player on a LAN, which none of these players should be, except for maybe one of Pero's players.
Well, it is time for game number one. No more ifs, could-haves, whatever's going to happen. We've got you as set as we can. So Michael and I are going to jump out, and we're going to throw it over to Colaris and Toffees to take us into game number one.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. All right, me and Toffee's going to be bringing you the first games. It is Christmas time, and it's the Invitational, as you can see, live from Seoul, South Korea, to get everything rolling. Erengel's our first map, Toffees, so we know that is for sure. But once somebody wins, we could be going anywhere.
It's anybody's game. I like the idea they're picking a map. I did think it'd be kind of fun to like have a veto system, but that would just be too much, I think, with 16 teams. This is a fun new thing to try. Also, Michael, you're not off the hook. We're calling you back at some point here to talk about the early game and how important it can be in these tournaments. But I'm very excited, James. I think this is a fun opportunity, as I don't think you and I have been on the mic together in years in this capacity, so it's going to be a good one. And two, it's like just unexpected across the board. How do BRDMs come into play? I guarantee you we're going to see 2 on every map. The ability to drive a BRDM and collect information is going to be absolutely incredible in this one, right? The way that people are breaching compounds, I think cars are going to have such a higher prio, and they're already super prioritized. As already we'd see 4AM and Tiggleton, or as Shrimsy, go early into this one. Oh, come on, Shrimsy, dodge, baby.
That was close indeed. Obviously, they were just kind of cutting off their parachutes a little early to try and be down on the ground as quickly as possible, but both players are very adept at doing that, so Shrimps is going to have to tuck his tail between his legs and run away. I will say, looking at that initial perspective, he was a little bit higher than Longs, but at the same time, as we take a look across the map now, we are seeing that T1 as well as 4AM are in the same spot, Yasnaya. However, T1 does have End separated up at no lean, so maybe the propensity to actually go for this kind of extremely aggressive hot drop is less likely, especially also with Longs trying to get some cars from other locations.
All right, Michael? I think Michael's still around. I want to talk to him about the start of these games in particular. And some of the system changes, because we have new IGLs in the form of Gen G. We got a bunch of players that are coming in as substitutes. And as the hunt for Shrimsy continues, Kickstart does have a gun. He's going to come over and try to use that to throw Longs off. So nice shots here by Kickstart to say, leave my Shrimsy alone. And he does it. Headshot to Long Z, and that is going to be him down. Shrimsy's going to punch him out for good effort, gets himself a Dragonov and a vehicle. And Falcons, that's a great way to start this thing.
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad. All things considered, I thought he was, considering the car situation, I thought Longs wasn't going to stick around. However, him staying in this area, I think, was just way too much of an oversight. I think he should have got back with the rest of his team, back to Yasnaya, especially since the hot drop didn't kick off with T1. There was going to be room to loot in Yasnaya, but yeah, I'm a bit skeptical of that move.
All right, so Michael, if you can hear me, I do want to ask about, we've got teams that have changed rosters and teams that have changed IGL. For you, is there...
Я никому не нужен был все утро, с 8 утра. Я только запустил стрим, все уже. 2 звонка. Вот, только день начался. Привет, Фрэнк. Фейзов? Не вижу, нету. Ой, чё... они молчат. Ух.
Do you think these early fights are a symptom of the $100 per kill, or is
Привет,
this something you
Джулиан.
normally see? Okay, I thought so too.
Any signs?
I believe Park Pro really rotated this. So the M16, we've already seen it used twice here. Park Pro rotated in with the M16 to cause some trouble. Opan's in the distance with the M24.
В каком направлении сейчас придет КИБЕРСПОРТ?
Third partying your own team, essentially.
В лучшем направлении, в худшем неизвестно.
To start things off here from Bago Park.
Все-таки
Shooting range could be an easy exploit on the arena.
Совсем другой формат.
A location like this, right? If you are actually pushing on this kind of position, there are a lot of walls and a lot of trees kind of around.
Будет ужасное качество.
Some of these lines of sight, and even
Это
just
максималка.
south of this, DN Freaks and Petrichor Road kind of stuck in the middle of a fight as well.
Алло, это у Это у меня? А где звук?
Oh, Ian's going out.
Это у них.
Can you hear me, Toffees?
Yes, I
Нету
do.
звука.
Good stuff.
Они
good stuff.
надоели.
We're here together. You know, it was an intense moment, and I really wanted to make sure that we were able to put that pressure into the moment here, as it has been a fascinating sort of group fight situation. A lot of individual drops, which I don't know if that's a symptom of being able to sort of visually scout.
Но я думаю, разработчики просто так не делали третье лицо в киберспорте. Все-таки это огромные бабки. Киберспорт это очень огромные бабки. Видимо, действительно голосование, как бы это, многие за третье лицо проголосовали.
I do think that there's probably a little bit of these teams not actually knowing where a lot of these teams would go in this kind of mode, right? Like, we're seeing how many teams are already centered up. Admittedly, like where this is a circle way north of the river, right? So they're trying to kind of scramble for those high-value positions.
Команда Перо уже сдохла.
Нави
по нулям.
Yeah, I'm actually. It almost feels like a Game 6 situation with how quickly our teams have gotten into this fight. Akon Bagopah has been.
Ну да, как будто я смотрю не турнир, а как будто я смотрю какую-то кастомку, которую и мы проводили, и не только. Привыкли все, что киберспорт первое лицо туда-сюда. Пока не ощущается, что это киберспорт.
Navi's going to be completely content with that and then get moving on up. And I think for both teams here, there is a onus to not get bogged down in a fight like this when a circle's like this, right? You don't really want to be on the south side of that river. And now, as Navi, you're moving, thinking to yourself, okay, well, surely there's somebody in Cube. Surely there might be people near those bridges near the east side of George. So you've got to be very careful about your movement here.
I think you hit the nail on the head. The biggest issue for me, especially with this transition, we talk about PMI, is that this is a mode where it's very important to get to those strategic locations early, right? Defense is everything.
Что-то странно, викинга нету.
This fight is cool, but unless that circle keeps moving
сразу он обычно приходил на такие стримы, сразу писал слово G-Coin. А сейчас его нету. Викинг, ты где?
As you need to sort of, I think, get those early rotations. For me, PGC was a very edge-heavy meta, and I think that's probably going to shift pretty dramatically over the next 3 days here.
Yeah, people want those prime spots, as you're saying, and for a north position like this, obviously you've got Plane Crash, you've got some of the compounds that DNF as well as Bagopah are already kind of sitting in. A little bit of an engagement, a scuffle here as Cloris does go down. So he's going to try to do a little bit more against this as he's looking over this way, but it looks like the Expendables are kind of scrambling to try and get him back up. Smokes go out.
О, тут есть Spaceman, он JDG. Вот же он, Spaceman. А я думаю, где он не отвечает мне, а вот он. В киберспорте сегодня.
Okay, so honestly, I think the bait would have worked if Cloris hadn't bled out at that exact moment.
Yeah.
So Susie goes ahead and gets himself that point, and if Spaceman will smartly just rotate away, and I think that they're using the vision, they're using their scouting very effectively as the fight with Furia, and Bagopah continues. Zakraken has been released.
Yeah, Zakraken, or as his friends know him, Leandro Gomez Pereira de Souza Santos. His full name. And I think that as soon as I saw that, I was like,
do it again. Can you do it for everyone?
Oh, that was for everyone. Don't worry.
Oh, that was so good. I mean, no, I'm saying, can we do every player going forward?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, there he goes. As you said, reintroduce him. He gets 2 kills off of that one. Almost gets back behind the rock, but salute.
Что-то пока ничего не понятно. Показывают одно и то же место. Шутинг.
At PGC we're like, the M16, bro. It is the gun.
Один привет. Да, уже перешли третье лицо. А что 26-го будет? Про 26-го я не в курсе. Сейчас вот 3 дня, сегодня, завтра, послезавтра. Какой-то вот турнирчик. И с него начинается переход на третье лицо. Причем полный переход. Я думал, что будет типа пополам. Какой-то турнир будет типа ТПП, какой-то ППП. То есть, как бы, думал, что команды, которые играют в первое лицо, они останутся, да, в этом режиме, и для них будет киберспорт, будет так же, как и было. А, типа, добавить третье лицо, чтобы, как бы, приманить игроков ТПП, которых больше половины. А они взяли и вообще кардинально поменяли все. Предгуки. Когда будешь участвовать? Я участвовать не буду. Ну, не буду. Преддедшотик. Короче, они насмотрелись наших кастомов, дедшотик, 100%. Как вы делали, как мы делали. Поняли, где, куда надо стремиться. Нас насмотрелись, и вот теперь повторяют за нами. Привет, Богдан. Алло. Сказали, что в 26 году перейдут на третье лицо. А, ну, тут что тут осталось? Уже меньше 2 недель до 26 года. По какому-то календарю уже 26 год, я думаю. Они же там не уточняли, по какому календарю. Ну, немножко, видимо, планы сдвинулись. Не, киберспорт в третьем лице откроет доступ и дорогу людям, которых очень много, которые очень хорошо играют в третьем лице. Я думаю, даже кто-то из нашей компании в будущих турнирах начнет себя пробовать. Потому что когда происходит что-то, какая-то движуха киберспортивная в том режиме, где ты играешь, понятное дело, да, там, что они могут пойти попробовать себя в первом лице, но если человек играет на постоянку третье, значит ему первое неинтересно даже в формате киберспорта. А сейчас это может кого-то подтолкнуть, собрать команду, а сильных складов очень много, собрать команду, попробовать себя в этом деле. И у кого-то получится. Где чем ПГС? ПГС закончился. ПГЦ, ПГС, они позаканчивались. Мы смотрели их все прошлые недели. Или ты о чем? Опять на 54 без 3 смотришь? Ну да, бицепс, я пока присматриваюсь, что тут, как тут, чтобы потом это... Чтобы потом понять, ну, насколько быстро вы всех вынесете тут. Ты с Ромой, там, с Лимоном. Ну, я думаю, на этой стадии уже у Ромы бы сдох, скорее всего. У вас с Лимоном было бы килла по 3, Рома сдох с нулем. Кто четвертый, вот неизвестно.
If FW does stuff like this, Toffees, I think teams like DM Freaks holding a bit of a wider split, because FW is
Четвертый русик.
truly unknown commodity of this lobby right now.
Может, не надо так жестко. Я не понимаю, они показывали хоть что-то с другого места. Все вот шутинг. Все возле шутинга происходит. Try and throw down some smokes here for a little bit of extra cover, but more shots come in and Heaven will deal with him. Чемпионы в этом турике что-то не.
Honestly, I'm most impressed with the Freaks right now. Under attack, two threats, and they were able to. They lost one, but able to.
А кто в прошлом турнире выиграл?
Да
не, ну тут не обязательно чемпионы, тут приглашенные команды, видимо, кто смог, тот и либо там какая-то была жеребьевка. Либо в офлайне, ну, для нас, нам не показывали, видимо, где-то, может, они играли свои отборочные, но это вряд ли. Так, а у них есть трансляция карты или нету? У них нету трансляции карты. Как-то. Не подготовились они, конечно. Нави пока один килл, но все живые.
But he is still an excellent player. In the MEA, he was playing on rosters multiple times, so definitely a pro stepping into those shoes, and you should not.
Развит, наверное. Ну да, они бухи где-то валяются. Куда им играть? По-любому, ты что, $500 000 баксов на команду за первое место. Каждый купил себе по острову и отдыхает.
Already putting in some work. Type eliminated an example, taking away the free money.
It's kind of a gamer. There's a reason he was one of the PGS MVPs, right? Like Molodox, you could even have a spray of him if you were watching the subsequent events. PGS 10 that his MVP spray was in whilst we were watching, but
глянь, в перевернутую тачку сел, чтобы его не заметили. А это может сработать. А ну-ка. Камеру реально не замечаю. Он еще темный, он еще сел на заднее сиденье. Где затемненные окна. Заметили, блин. Но он прикольно придумал.
I respect the this is Twisted Minds. Like, there's a guy upside down in a car. Did you need 3 of you to surround him and make sure that you're not trading or going 1v1? Not necessarily. But the fact that they did that shows me how precise they are about making sure they don't take risks.
Что-то катается туда-сюда. Там дельфин, таешник, дельфин. Надо его душить. Теперь он уже не один. Нет, все, минус Нави. Минус Нави. Нет? Какой-то кол 119, ой-ой-ой, в упоре не прибил. В упоре.
Getting shot up left and right. It seems like the real go-to is just you know, as long as you don't go under 10 HP. Everyone running super low right now.
Не, ну портануло, конечно, кто там был из Нави, не заметил. Такое качество стрима офигенное. Это просто шок.
Dissipated from Na'Vi as they're just looking towards JDG, but now the Expendables is going to be pushing on against anyone's legend. How well can this go? Already utility thrown along. They need to also be wary of the fact that the circle has shifted away from them. So getting this fight done fast might be of importance.
Один еще за зону лазит.
Hits Delwyn straight in the face.
А в зоне все занято.
Is an important one. Expendables have been a little slow. AL, everyone said, is it going to work with multiple teams? How are the communication issues going to go? So Lolzy says, I don't have to communicate if I just go out and solo everyone.
Great stuff by Sololzy so far. Obviously, he was recently a very, very strong acquisition, obviously, for anyone's legend, alongside what is effectively all-stars. A lot of previous plays from him coming out from when he was on Cerberus, but Tamvu here shutting him down. Trying to save it here for the Expendables.
That's going to make the move here. Yeah, and they're going to get eliminated. Honestly, I was shocked. Get almost no contribution to that fight. It seemed like they came in just a minute or two late, and that might have just be a symptom of comm issues, as it's hard to say.
Ну не знаю, я... Может быть, у меня какой-то... Ну, может быть, мне кажется. Но такое чувство, как будто... Ну, я вообще не киберспорт смотрю. А какую-то реально кастомку, где... Но они обычно играют, они обычно стреляют. Когда киберспорт от первого лица был, да, вот они все свои тарелки, они там нифига себе показывают моменты иногда. А тут, видимо, они реально ТПП очень мало играют, и они плохо играют. На свой уровень я не вижу что-то... Может быть, это только пока первая катка.
Getting a nice defense here. Freaks has been actually really impressive so far. Very
так это,
aggressive right
ну, обычная игра.
Looking for kills, not afraid to see a fight. Kawazine coming back in. Remember, he got killed early on before the 10-minute mark. His team brought him back, but now you just have to run through the fields naked, which, if you've ever done that, you know it's not as fun as it sounds.
Yeah, it really depends on the climate, right? And if you're in South Korea right now, it's like minus so.
Конечно, по голожопику. 10 киллов ДНФ, нифига себе. ДНФ может ТПП-шеры вообще.
No gear, no armor. All right, looks like we're going to see a little back and forth here as Navi and
Они в прошлом турнире отыграли не очень. Нави одного потеряли. Ты знаешь, я должен смотреть из-за того, что дергаются, приседают, которые перед собой будут жить. Не будут. Посмотри ролик Roadmap Киберспорта на 26 год. Как минимум весь год будет ТПП Киберспорт. Денежка на Монобанк трынькнула. Так, это... Я вот не знаю, тут пришла такая сумма, которая мне должна была прийти, но это, я не знаю, либо это донат, либо это не донат. Но мне должно было столько прийти. Ну, на 5 гривен больше, конечно. А, да, все.
Yeah, for sure. EMEA has some of the best
Это не донат.
coach/previous pro players that you could even hope for. But Orca here for Gen G, they had a great compound. They could hold down JGG as well as DN Freaks at exactly the same time. They're really capitalizing on the fact that DN Freaks was kind of paying attention more to where Navi was going to be coming in.
Ну, дергаются, ну, смотри, ну, мы же ТПП играем, мы тоже так дергаемся. Я, правда, так не дергаюсь, я не вижу в этом смысла. Но многие дергаются так же. И вы же... Блин, ну не 5 звонок.
But Gen G got aggressive and now is falling back. Big change here. Orca is now the IGL after their PGC performance, and that seemed like an Orca kind of play. He likes to be a little more aggressive. He likes to get in there and throw some fisticuffs. And you could see that as they came out of the compound to look to clean up a few extra kills and then slide back. So expect that from this Gen G. I think a little more aggression than we're used to.
It looks like DNF does finally get Salute back up on his feet after now Navi has been completely eliminated from the game. Only 3 kills going the way of Navi. Now we're getting into placement points though. And DN Freaks, 13 kills. That's already $1,300 on the board for them. And they still have 3 alive. Now, whether or not they can make an entry point on this corner is debatable. It's going to be maybe a little bit tricky to try and find yourself a spot here. But maybe if JDG crunches up against Gen G at the same time, that could work in their favor.
I'm fascinated. Freaks having a really good game, but again, this is a home circle for them. They didn't have to go very far. They were able to cause a little bit of chaos right out of the drop. That said, when I watch Freaks on a day one open up with 13 kills, that's usually an indicator that things are going to get a little bit crazy in the lobby as they go forward. And especially with this $100 bounty per kill, I can see DNF playing super aggressive all day long and saying, we want to start fights within the first 5 minutes on a regular basis.
It could be. And it's going to, the format's going to reward that quite considerably if you want to actually just get those kills on board. That said, though, each game win is also $5,000. And I think in the south side of this circle, we're going to see the Falcons or 4AM kind of capitalize on the fact that there's so much aggression going on in the north side, right? Because there's not really been much going on in the south.
Yeah, it has been quiet because of all of that action. I think the Falcons have really benefited from that. You can see them here moving into the circle nice and slow, focusing on compounds. Still scouting the old-fashioned way with the lean peek instead of the pivot and look. But here, Shrimsy maximizing his use here.
Вот, и играют же люди от третьего лица, также примерно плюс-минус дергаются, Нави сдохли. Ты просто привык к тому, что первое лицо, а теперь не первое. И к этим движениям тоже привыкнешь. Не знаю, мне третье приятнее смотреть. В любом случае. Алексей, да, был челлендж 9000 топов до конца года. Я за это получил почти $400. Выплачено было все почти в самом начале. Осталось около 50 от разных людей. Вот сегодня либо на днях будет выплата остальная. Вот Торонто пришел.
Falcons should be laughing if they have full knowledge of the map. Obviously, it's difficult from this compound.
Пока что лидируют они, да.
Toward the north, but if they know where everybody is soon, they are going to be in a very happy spot.
Yeah, I like this 2-2 split by them. They're going to go out.
Как они присутствуют вертикально, при этом скорость не падает.
And I do think that we're going to see more 2-2s today. I think the ability.
Это ты просто бежишь. Ты когда бежишь, держишь W и Shift. Да. А чтобы присесть, встать и при этом не потерять скорость, тебе нужно отпустить Shift, быстро отпустить Shift, нажать 2 раза C и дальше нажать Shift. И получается, персонаж бежит, приседает, встает, в этот момент скорость та же, и ты потом дальше держишь shift, и он дальше бежит. Беспонтовое занятие, как по мне, которое... Сейчас каждый второй, третий бегает, когда перебегает, он вот так вот приседает. Наоборот, как по мне, попасть в голову в таком случае легче, потому что ты примерно стреляешь в тело персонажа наперед, да, и когда он бежит. А он, приседая, дает тем самым попасть себе в голову. Например, я, когда тип пробегает где-то, по полю бежит, да, там, перебегает от точки А к точке Б. Я не пытаюсь выцелить голову, потому что она маленькая, а тело большое, поэтому я стреляю, пытаюсь попадать в тело. Он присаживается, попадаю в голову. Спасибо. Быстрее филчелик. Это выпендрёж, знаешь, это как поменять оружие там. Когда ты бежишь перезаряженный, тебе это не надо, но ты нажимаешь 2-1. Или там, когда у тебя в первом слотике оружие, ты нажимаешь 2-1, и он хоп, крутит его, вертит. Или убирает, берет. Это все визуальный выпендрёж, который не нужен никому, по сути.
With JDG trying to find just a Western position, they wanted none of it. I feel like they could have maybe even exploited a little bit of that with some utility, but not to be the case. They're playing things a bit more steady.
This is not the JDG way. Exploitation and third parties is sort of like not.
Еще
their bread and
многие
butter is let them fight.
крутые игроки, ну или крутые игроки, любят, будучи в укрытии, когда ему ничего не угрожает слева-справа, вот как, допустим, Тиглтон, что он вот кьюешится, когда вот был только что за укрытием полностью. Зачем, вот сейчас, вот зачем 5 раз садиться вставать, зачем вот это вот? У тебя слева, сзади никого нету, справа тиммейты у тебя находятся. И вот лишние телодвижения я тоже не пойму. Потом в каком-нибудь жестком моменте ты из этих огромных всяких комбинаций клавиш ты можешь запутаться, запаниковать и не то нажать. Или забыть что-то нажать. Я такое замечал за игроками. Чтобы не дали голову. Так он за бугром! Он за бугром и 5 раз за секунду сел, встал. Зачем вот этот момент? Я понимаю, когда ты там, у тебя нет инфы, и тебе там по сторонам могут по тебе попасть. Окей, я так же делаю. Но когда ты уже за укрытием, за деревом, когда у тебя тиммейты по бокам сзади, и ты перед тобой бугор фулл полностью, вот тут зачем это делать? Зачем кьюешиться и вставать, садиться, когда ты тебе ничего не угрожает?
I like the aggressive attitude of the Falcons, sort of how wide they've spread out right now, trying to find angles.
Владислав, привет. Составы кого? Команд? Ну, вроде да.
The problem is that's not going to last forever, right? So if Falcons can take these risks, grab themselves some berms, utilize the
за некоторыми командами я смотрю, вроде бы да.
Но он
за Ром, что он будет КК... Да! А КК сидеть, зачем пальцы тратить на эти лишние телодвижения? Это в любом случае... как бы, ну, отвлекает. У него сильный пар. На мини-карту перемотай, посмотри на мини-карту. Это киберспортсмен, да мы бегаем в паблике, я понимаю, что если справа вы ходите, и у меня там слева никого, сзади никого не может быть.
They are gonna be in trouble. They already lost Little Ghost. Little Ghost, yes, had his.
Надо дергаться тогда, когда надо дергаться. Когда не надо, то да, это лишнее.
But is it worth it if you lose out on $5,000 and not have an off angle to try and shut down where Falcons is going to be able to constrict this circle against you?
I agree with you. I think with Little Ghost, that's just what he does. He's a risk taker. He goes out there and he wants to sort of play these solo positions. It has been an off and on. Yes, it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But I think 17's a high risk, high reward kind of team. They just go out there and say, we're going to play however we feel like it. And if we win the tournament, that's cool. That said, they pulled the first circle in this game. They don't pull this one, however, as the shift goes south. With the BRDM, Kickstarter is able to really do a lot of scouting, need a lot of information back to his team. And because of this circle, he doesn't have to get into Panzerfaust range to do it. And that is the most crucial part.
And also, it's very healthy still, the BRDM. So even if they wanted to spray into it, look how much ammo some of these members on 17 have. I saw like 70 shots just then on one of the guns for 17. So if they all start lathering into it and then they have to move, they could easily be killed off by Falcons if they try and move forwards. Nays go forwards though. You do know where Falcons has moved for the off angle here, but Tiggleton hits him on
Ну,
the
в
side.
17-м хана.
I love this 2v2. They created a V pattern where they own the entire slice of the pie. Kickstar's just driving around. I think he's figured out the ammunition situation. Panzerfaust lob? No way.
It's too long, I think.
Yeah.
Он почти долетел, Панцер. Нормально.
Not bad, Tiggleton.
a nice try, but I know that they know that 17 is dead to rights right now. Once these smokes dissipate, that's a good
Так,
name.
подождите, 17-е вырубили одного, вот это вот за деревом. И 17-го тоже вырубили.
This monster with a bolt. I told you, they spun the cars out trying to get that Dacia out. They're now down to a 3v2. Sure, Shrims, he's not.
А, да у них какие там, я не знаю. На машинах скинов нету, а на них какие-то стандартные, наверное. Ну, то есть там же на аккаунтах, видимо, могут какие-то скины выпадать. У них это не их личный аккаунт. Может быть, не запрещено, может быть, турнир такой несерьезный.
You know, because this is a team that preps, right? They're a team that takes the strategies like very seriously.
А то он даже миникарту не
the
транслировал.
most strict rules I've ever heard in terms of how you handle yourself pre, post, and during a tournament. These guys are made to win. That's what they want to do.
А может быть, им можно скины такие неяркие,
They're going to take the
темные,
flag,
может быть, можно.
go to select a map, and this is the selection ceremony. They choose Erangel as map number 2.
Not too much of a surprise for us here, taking out Erangel. I think that they feel very confident when it comes to Erangel. In the grand finals of PUBG, their average points on Erangel was 13.2. That's the grand finals of the World Championship. So not only are they amazing there, they're also amazing to start things off for our first.
Да, так они еще другие любят первое и третье лицо переключаться по 50 раз за секунду.
Bring Matcher back in to hang out with us. Are you shocked that the Falcons got the first win of the day, Matt?
I had faith, even though you guys called me on. I had Tiggleton on my squad before we even kicked off everything. I was a bit shocked, though, by the freaks at the start. Those guys were just absolutely ferocious. I know, I think it was Claris, you were talking about it. That paper kept saying, dude, the freaks, they've been playing so much TPP. They're going to be dominant whenever we see them in action on TPP. And he was not lying. These guys just came out swinging in a big way.
Yeah, I think the question is how they're going to convert
странное чувство после первой
yes, you
катки.
can go out and get 13 kills and stuff like that for a game like this, but if you're not getting the win off the back of it, we'll see how that kind of shapes and molds the lobbies overall. That said, though, whenever you see a team going super kill heavy, eventually the wins should come their way, right?
Oh, yeah, poor Ian, just trapped inside the car. Twisted did get a bit of an update. Boots on the ground people let us know the fact that Lou was feeling a little bit under the weather at the start of game number 1. That's how come Tab played. But rumor is that Lou should be back for game number 2. Poor Michael actually had Lou on his fantasy squad, was just having to sit back and watch.
Oh, no.
It's a crazy start to the day.
Агентурика еще и лан, как в ангаре.
An interesting
Ну, помещение, да, какое-то там прям маленькое у них.
17 and playing in the defensive position for
Ты
playing
тоже
for
заметил.
points, but not necessarily playing for the win and getting the prize money out.
I mean, $100 a kill. I don't think I would have. I mean, I'm just greedy. I wouldn't have died to blue. I would have been like, "We're going for it, boys. Send the Dacia." But I do think that they're playing for the 50K. Staying in the shelter was their system, right? They play these high proc values. They look for points on placement, and they take fights if they come to them. They prefer not to go to the fight. So I do think the way that game ended was exactly what I'd expect from a 17 Falcons showdown. And I will say, 17 Falcons showdown, is there name a more iconic duo in PUBG than these two teams going at it when it's important. So seeing them sort of start this off as the final two, nostalgically, was awesome for me.
We're also kind of talking about the strength of the BRDM whenever we look at TPP, and man, Falcons, they just ran amok in this later stage with it. 17, I guess, just kind of burned a lot of their utility in the early stages. They had the squads that were next to them, so no Panzerfaust. But once we saw this circle, it just was so dominant afterwards. There's nothing that 17 could do. I did love the fact that Falcons went with that just Hail Mary Panzerfaust shot that actually, I think, hit the side of the hillside leading into 17's combat.
Другие игры заканчивают год самым важным
positions, right, where Falcons is suddenly having to deal with a
Первое, третье лицо прицел 5 раз столкнул оружие, и мой вестибулярный аппарат поломался. Не, ну, Владислав, ну не сравнивай КС турниры и вообще сообщество КС и пабге. КС это все-таки, ну, один из первых шутеров от первого лица, и первый шутер, наверное, в котором так массово начали проводить турниры, и альтернатив не было, понимаешь? И огромное количество игроков видели только одну игру. КС 1.6, там, КСС, КС2. То есть очень долгое время не было конкуренции. Была только, по сути, одна игра, и поэтому многие до сих пор смотрят, играют, знают. А PUBG вышел когда? PUBG вышел фиг знает когда, после этих Counter-Strike. И, конечно, у такой игры будет меньше просмотров народу и так далее. Будь наоборот, было бы наоборот. Просто не было конкурентов у КС-ки, и народ смотрел КС-ку. Ну, 17 же вышел PUBG. А КС 1.6 когда вышел, посмотри. И вот, считай, все это время... Да и тем более разные жанры. Там вот это с бомбой бегаешь, что тут батл рояль. Это как сравнивать, не знаю, там, теннис с футболом. Разные совсем игры. О, 4 катки, не так долго стримить. Еще 3 осталось. Мирамарта и Агуронда. Да и тем более, пока вышел PUBG, уже повыходила, ну, как бы, КС-ка захватила к себе всю аудиторию. Потом начали выходить всякие Call of Duty, Battlefield, Titanfall и так далее, куча фигни. Потом аж вышел PUBG, уже аудитория рассосалась по играм, но основная часть осталась в КС-ке. И вот что-то себе загреб PUBG. Ну и все равно для PUBG киберспорт живет. Крупные турниры проводят, вон по $500 000 за первые места отдают. Все хорошо у них. Турниры заканчивают год самым важным туриком глобальным, чем а PUBG еще турик проводит, когда 26 уже на пороге. Но, ну, видишь, какая организация? Они в каком-то маленьком сидят в гараже, даже нету трансляции мини-карты, потом, ну, видно, что все попроще. Это такое, знаешь, такое, какой-то вот, ну, такой вот первый турнирчик, чтобы показать, как это будет, как это может быть. Я так понял, там они, может, сейчас полетают, покажут на улице. Они вроде бы все в том же городе находятся, все в той же стране, вроде в Таиланде, да, где проходил прошлый турнир. Какой-то ПГЦ вроде. Или, ну, я не разбираюсь в названиях. Где вот ПГЦ, да, вот. И они, видимо, остались там же, и команды там же, и они прибили 2 зайцев, разработчики. То есть они провели крупный турнир ПГЦ, и пока еще там работает аренда этого ангара, пока команды там проплачены, еще живут в отелях, давайте мы проведем бабки, чтобы потом не тратить еще лишнее, проведем там же, также, с теми же людьми, проведем турнир еще от 3-го лица. Как будто сэкономили. КС грустная игра в плане эмоций, разнообразия ситуаций. Ну, мне тоже КС не нравится. Вообще прям. Привет, Серега. Хочу быть теннисистом. Я тоже. Типа пробный турик. Ну да. Типа, наверное, пробный. А может быть они, знаешь, может быть они специально сказали уже там в roadmap, что типа год будет ТПП, и вообще переход на ТПП Киберспорт, и вот сейчас пробный турнир, чтобы глянуть, какая будет реакция у всех. Если прям скажут фу-фу-фу, нет-нет-нет, так может вернут, а если не будет такого прям фу-фу-фу, нет-нет-нет, то тогда все окей. Не знаю. Третьих телека? Нет. Этот же турнир вместе проводят. Я не знаю, я говорю, мне так кажется, потому что они перед первой каткой они летали на дроне, показывали город, показывали. Где я сейчас покажу? А где это было? Алло. Пораньше, может.
I think the Eastern teams are going to come out fierce and strong, considering that there's a lot of prize pool for each kill that comes.
Да, вроде оно. И локация похожа на, ну вообще дома, все похоже на то, что было по ГЦ. Там тоже летали, показывали. Я не точно, я могу ошибаться, но мне кажется, что это та же локация. Ну, город тот же, страна та же, я не знаю.
This is going to be an absolutely wild start to kick off everything, and yeah, I mean you're nailing it. We are at the PUBG.
I think they honestly overall will do really well this tournament. They don't mess around.
В другую страну, там проблемы с визой были, вместо него молодости играют. Я в такие подробности уже не залазил. Ставили купоны, да, он закончился. По итогу выиграла команда, я не помню. Нави на третьем месте, на втором месте Virtus Pro, на первом месте какие-то корейцы. FS, что ли, не помню.
Manipulating FPP to get that early aggression, such as like the Expendables, did find some kills, but not like I would say the reach into the later stages that they wanted. So do you think that that's going to be kind of the nature of the beast as we move forward with this, or do you think that there is still a place for that early game aggression that those squads really seem to like?
I think honestly, like DNF is often a team that also is a bit like Falcons. They don't like to fight early too much, but then you have a crazy team like Pero who don't care at all, come flying at you, and you kind of just need to deal with it as it comes. Like you might have a team talk before, yo, let's just avoid the fights, let's just keep 4 alive, control our space, and play for the late game. And then it all gets thrown out the window when a 4-man Pero come flying at you full speed, and then all of a sudden you're getting third-partied again. They got in a fight with
тайцы, подожди.
FW and then T1. It all kind of ripple affected, but they're just a crazy team with crazy mechanical skills.
Я вроде смотрел, но я не помню, и кто там на первом месте. Я их не запоминаю, они похожи все. Юра, стримитури в душе не знает. Да потому что мне пофиг. Мне интересно все, что связано с теми, кого я знаю. Если там 14 команд из Кореи, 18 команд из Таиланда, мне плевать. Мне главное, что там какие-то виртусы, там Нави, там твисты, там что-то еще. Вот это мне интересно, про них я запомнил. А остальные мне... до задницы.
我说实话，兄弟们，如果这次 4M 能拿冠军，我从首尔走回深圳。Guys, you have to support Twisted Minds because we will the tournament. Let's go. Let's go, Twisted Minds. We are going to win the tournament.
우리가 3인칭 치킨은 진짜 맛집이거든요. 다른 팀들은
Против теле, опять матюкается в чате.
Хороший гравець, раз на 60 ігор може щось видати, показати гру.
ก็ขอบคุณที่ให้คิว4คิวใน PDS บ่อยๆนะครับ
Це була просто стратегія пропустити складну команду в фінал, та й все.
อีชนะทัวร์นี้ไหมไม่รู้แต่ชนะนาวีแน่นอน
Перемога буде за Наві, ми його не будемо давати дихати.
17게이밍에 중국에 타다라고 들었는데 가볍게 물어 죽여.
Да, там катка следующая.
前几连 PGC 决赛小组赛都打得不太好的队伍怎么赢我们呢？有点太可笑了啊！ 어려운데? 선수끼리
Ладно, на минутку отойду, а то они что-то затянули.
봐주시면 좋을 것 같아요. 꼭 우승해가지고 2025년 꼭 웃으면서 아름답게 마무리해보고 싶습니다. 而且我们会好好教一下竞技，我们这次会怎么夺冠。
상처 입은 호랑이는 적을 찢습니다.
上次 PGC 呢，你们仅仅只是一个游客，我觉得这次你们也一样。 我们最强大的劲敌就是 T1， 因为我们在艾伦格这张地图上跟他们有跳点冲突。
에이, 4AM은 저희 라이벌 아닙니다. 기억 속엔 그냥 플러스 4점밖에 없어가지고.
我们一定会有的，因为外城是我们的地方，不允许其他队跳进来。
에이, 집주인 바뀌었어요.
从我家滚出去 T1。
T1의 전통이 하나 있는데요. 저희도 이어나가 보려고 합니다. T1은 PCL에게 지지 않습니다.
虽然他们看得像豹子一样很凶，但是终归结底还只是一个动物。
Sabe aquele time que foi pra casa logo depois da PGC começar? Então, a JDG.
我并不认为他们的说法很有说服力，因为他们是16支队伍最菜的。
JDG, vocês são tão fracos. Tu vai pra casa cedo de novo.
ค่อนข้างมั่นใจเลยครับว่าทีมเราจะทำได้ครับเพราะว่าเราจบท็อป 2 มาเรากลับไปแก้ไขข้อผิดพลาดมาค่อนข้างดีเลยครับมั่นใจมากครับ
우승을 말로 하는 건 쉽죠. 근데 우리는 우승자 출신이라 가능할 것 같아요.
Nhất định bọn mình sẽ vô địch giải đấu lần này.
รู้จักครับค่อนข้างดังในเกาหลีเลยครับแต่ผมก็ไม่รู้ว่าไปอยู่เวียดนามได้ไงผมก็คิดว่าน่าเปลี่ยนชื่อโซเป็นฮานอยหรืออะไรสักอย่างของเวียดนามเนี่ยครับคุยกันให้รู้เรื่องก่อนไหมครับแล้วค่อยมาเล่นแบบเป็นทีม
Không cần lời nói, chỉ cần nhìn vào ánh mắt là đủ hiểu rồi.
DNF are always the runner-ups. They never win, and I don't think they ever will.
팀 팔콘 되게 잘하는 팀이라고 생각하는데 항상 보면 4등, 5등권에 있더라고요. 4등, 5등이 딱 어울리는 팀인 것 같습니다.
I like Salute a lot. He's a great guy, but he will be saluting us when we win.
누구 선수요? 시림프 선수. 그분 제가 또 잘 아는데 정도 아닙니다.
If DNF wins, I'll post a photo of myself holding a shrimp on social media.
야, 오케이. 그러면 저도 진짜 팔콘이 우승하면
Hey guys, I am standing outside. We've got a slight technical issue, so a little bit delay for the games, but during the delay we was able to get a bit more information. I've just heard though from the Twisted Minds coaching team that actually Lou will be returning slightly better, still not 100% on form, but he'll be returning in game number 3. With Falcons obviously selecting the last wrangle for today, had a quick chat with the guys. They were happy with that, a little bit slower than they expected, and they were a little bit surprised when they dropped Shrimsy off though on the off angle that nade came in from 17 gaming. So a little bit of fun, lots of banter here at the moment, but we're just getting ready, so I'll send it back to the desk. I'll see you guys shortly.
I'm just still dumbfounded by the banter video that we just saw that put Banana 1 up against Soul. Like, that's just cruel and unusual punishment. FW just like nipping at the heels to see what they could get. But can we all just acknowledge Shrimsy standing up to salute and just being like, not even any words? Did he need him toffees?
Well, so you have Banana 1 versus Soul, which is like, there's no world where Banana 1 can be like, all right, I'm gonna stand up to this guy, right? Like, this is Soul, right? There's nothing you can do there except say, all right, you can talk negative to me. Shrimsy, on the other hand, goes, how do you deal with Salute? I know. I'm gonna alpha him. He just stands up and walks over, and then gets a pun in. That madman threw in a salute pun to his trash talk, so I have a lot of respect for that as a master of the pun.
But there's a part of me that now wants to see Shrimsy have to take a photo with the shrimp, just because you know it's going to be the most awkward photo on the face of the earth. Okay, banter aside, Colores, there's so much stuff that we can look at.
How are you guys feeling after that one?
We feel kind of, like sucks. We only got 1 kill. 1 kill for $100, but we got only 1, so we feel suck at game 1.
Do you feel anything about the lobby that maybe surprised you? Like, are people being really aggressive and maybe that confused you a little bit or something like that?
Yeah, I feel very confused because everyone is hiding, everyone not peeking, It's quite like very hard for us to like, I don't know how to say it in English.
Hard to figure it out, maybe?
Yes, but right now I feel sick and tired. I just want to end today and then go take some pill, take some rest,
I get it. Okay, so going into the next game then, do you have any thoughts about how you guys can adjust? Are we going to see maybe a little bit more of that classic aggressive expendable style?
Yeah, I think we're gonna go play for kills. We don't gonna play for circle. I think we're gonna play for kills.
All right, that's what I like to hear. All right, well, good luck. Hopefully you could get some rest tonight, feel a little bit better, my friend. That is going to do it for me and Duck Juice. Hopefully the Expendables can find some better results.
I love Duck Juice so much. I love how it just gives us all the facts, all the information right off the get-go. No mincing words when it comes to this. But here we go. Let's take a quick look at our match one and overall leaderboard since we've only had one match so far. It is going to be 16 points for the Falcons up on top, but the Freaks just 1 point back behind them, Cloris.
Yeah, not bad by them, of course. Now, what's interesting about that is that I think for a lot of these fights, D and Freaks was able to kind of either early surround and kind of catch their opponents off guard, or take advantage of teams that were kind of rotating past them or hitting their position, right? And I think in this mode, it's going to be very good for them to be able to do something like that. I think when you listen to the interview there for the Expendables, and Paperthin's asking, are we going to go back to the aggressive Expendable style? I don't know if that works as well here when it comes to PPMI. So we'll see if the Expendables can make that work, but I think it's going to be a big challenge.
I don't think they know how.
Give it to us.
To be honest. Like, so here's my issue, and I think he's alluded to this, is like, he said they're not repeating us, right? So I don't think that they've practiced for the perspective transition almost at all. It sounds like they're still expecting people to take honest. They're still expecting to have sort of wait for that information gathering.
Как поживаю? Как обычно. После среды для PUBG уже будет получше. Ну, конечно же, 7800, а вообще 9800 из 3D будет намного лучше. Это же уже другая платформа. Ну, это уже DDR5 память, которая дорогущая сейчас. Это уже M5 сокет, это совсем другой комп. Но в нынешних реалиях, если собирать комп с нуля, и либо у тебя уже комп на AM4 сокете, то вообще смысла нет идти на M5. Тупо из-за оперативки. Она сейчас слишком дорогая. Тут, короче, важно, что тебе нужно. Комп с нуля, либо переход с Intel, либо у тебя уже AM4 сокет. От этого зависит мой ответ. Зависит от картинка или что? Уже 2 минуты показывают нам вот этих вот пацанов. Не, ну, Серега, ну, я же говорю, зависит от того, что у него какая ситуация. Переход с Intel, либо M4 сокет, либо вообще ничего нет. Но если сравнивать, во сколько раз выросла DDR4 память до и DDR5 и DDR4, то DDR4 не так сильно и выросла еще. Выросла тоже в разы, но поменьше. Иксы.
Yeah, I'm discounting that one because it doesn't feed into a narrative. So, you gotta deny what you can.
Hello, everyone. Well, I think when you heard Duck Juice say, like, they were mad they only got one because that's $100. Oh, actually, let's check in with Bella.
You started off the first match with 14 kills, and I think you were also on board shoulder to shoulder with Salute with the most kills on your team. Well, how was that? Was that very sweet for you? 이제 첫 번째 경기 규민 선수와 디엠프릭스 총 합을 14킬을 하셨거든요. 첫 번째 매치부터 분위기가 좋고 규민 선수에게 만족스러우실 것 같은데 오늘 첫 경기
А то моя совсем там уже закончилась.
일단 제가 평소에 3인칭을 많이 안 하기도 하고 저희 팀이 3인칭을 막 엄청 잘한다고 생각은 안 했는데 첫 매치에 그래도 좀 나쁘지 않은 성과 거둔 것 같아서 좀 긍정적으로 바라보고 있는 것 같아요.
Well, I don't really play TPP that often, but you know, it was our first official match here with the
Что-то между катками огромная прям
and I
пауза.
think it went better than I expected it to be. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable and confident. Well, I want to ask you, this is also on like a side question. How many more kills are you planning to do for the rest of the day then? 이제 또 제가 이게 사실 개인적으로 궁금한 거긴 한데 오늘 이제 4매치가 남았잖아요. 또 몇 킬을 더 기록하실 건지 만족스럽게.
라운드당 5킬씩 해가지고
부자가 되겠다.
네, 부자가 돼서 좀 폰을 좀 바꾸고 싶기 때문에.
아, 새 폰을 원하신다.
네, 상금 좀 벌어가겠습니다.
알겠습니다. Well, I think relatively I want to rake up 5 kills per match because I want to get a new phone. So Gumin is going to make some extra money with the prizes. All right, thank you, Gumin. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
That's all.
У него ж волосы перед глазами, как он видит.
Noticing a trend here.
Thanks, Bella. Misty, always glad to have you back. I also love the fact that human thinks in money in the same way that I do. It's not 5 kills.
СССР, у меня FPS, я тебе так скажу, он от 400 до 150.
I also, it's not lost.
Смотря где я нахожусь, смотря что происходит в кадре.
Players have focused on the money right out of the gate. All right. Yeah. I don't think I heard an interview at a PGS or a PGC this year where they started with like, well, cash. But like DuckJuice was mad because they got 1 kill and that was only $100, right? And immediately Human's like, here's what I'm gonna do with the money. So I think the fact that there is quantifiable income available to every team, regardless of if they win this tournament, if they have one good game, you could make just a ton of cash between day winner, game winner, and kills, is actually shifted the way these players are thinking about attacking it. And I hadn't processed that before, Kalaris, but it seems like that's having kind of an impact on their mentality.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense, right? There's close to, let's call it almost 1,000 kills across 15 games, right? If you've got, let's say, yes, there's 64 players in a lobby or something like that. If you're adding a few more here and there for, you know, some res backs and stuff like that, you're getting towards 990. So, like, that's a lot of money that you could potentially be getting if you're being very aggressive. The only thing that's going to be working against you is, again, these teams are world class, and some of them have been practicing for PPMI to the point where they're going to be able to exploit some of these terrain differences that we're seeing relative to, you know, PGC and the tournaments of the like PGSs, etc. So for Falcons, I think that they were totally happy. I think looking at how they played this out, the South, there was no real aggression going on. I won't be surprised if the Falcons
Вот они, 25 минут они что-то делают там, они хоть уже запустили, они до сих пор, они еще не запустили, они даже еще не на отчете. Они сидят в лобби. Он там тип уже зевает. Тем жарко. Ну, конечно, в гараже сидят, там жарко всем уже листиками фигачат. Они все еще в лобби сидят. Я думал, это будет быстренько, 4 катки, там ПГЦ было 6. А оказывается, ожидание между катками, как с полноценной каткой. Им уже нечего показывать, уже показывают лишь бы шота. Онлайн набирается для катки. Нормально.
Salute Guman, both Toffees walking away with a decent stack today.
I mean, so I agree with that, and I think it's interesting to look at the two of those. We saw DNF versus Falcons there for a second. Now the kill count was huge on DNF, right? So they made up, I think it was $1,500 on that match because of the kill count. The Falcons got 6 kills, so they made $1,600 on that map because they won the match dinner $1,000 reward. What I'm curious about is as we get deeper into this tournament and people start to realize that's $1,000 for the win. Do we go back to the end of that game where 17 denied a 3v4?
Все, они сказали, сейчас все нормально.
But in the future they go, hey man, that was $1,000 if we had actually fought through that and taken the win. And does it change the way these end games are sort of approached? Because that's a pretty massive difference and a lot of cash that you can say, even if I'm not in a full position to win the $50,000 in the tournament, maybe getting to these end games and making choices that I wouldn't normally make are going to make me money. And what that also does is has the knock-on effect of changing the way that, you know, these experienced 8-year veterans approach that final four. Because if I know you're not going to deny, it changes the entire way that I have to hold the circle. So I think that this could be starting to click into their heads. It might be a knock-on effect for this tournament as it goes on.
I'm kind of intrigued, though. We see a lot of people die to blue. Now that it's $100 per kill, if there's going to be a bit of kickback from the players on that one, you know, because it's like, yeah, I get surrendering points and all. That's a kind of a thing, but you're also kind of denying a couple of $100 to somebody whenever you do it now. So I'm curious if that's going to breed a little bit more animosity, or if it's just going to be like you still play for the overall points and how different teams can approach it. Because I could see like squads like the Expendable being like, nah, we're just going to fight to get the kills, and if we give somebody $100, don't want to lose them. It'd be interesting to see at the end of this how much money maybe.
Короче, ты хочешь собрать себе комп?
Does it walk away with an extra $1,000 of its own?
Ну,
I guess we could have a
а
little bit of
когда?
a tally and see how much it has taken away from these players. And then just divvy it up and, you know, some way, somehow, but...
Pay for the after
I don't
party.
know how that's gonna go.
Тефтели, а что его отправлять? Он там и так сидит. Он в плане в команде GDG. Spaceman. Неужели? Как вы нашлись люди? Запускают катку.
This TPP plane is heading for Erangel. Let's buckle up those seatbelts once again, because we are getting in the plane.
Там рукой машет, говорит, проблемы какие-то. Или что? А, нифига себе, они типа в самолете сидят или что? Они типа в самолете сидят, поняли? Это мы тупые, мы думали гараж.
Ooh, it's a cliffhanger! Gen G. Take a look at these boys. IGL shift for this event, taking it away from the little bean and putting it on the giant orca, who was an absolute whale when it came to lobbies at PGC, specifically in the group stages.
6 минут у них ожидания, 6 минут у них ожидания, почему? На мониторе смотрите. Или 66 минут. Там 66 минут у них.
And a lot of that I felt like revolved around Orca, sort of combined with
Сейчас раз в 3, 4, 5, смотря какие наборы оперативки подорожали. 3, 4, 5 раз. Понимаешь, что такое? SSD-шки в 3-4 раза подорожали. И будут, скорее всего, еще дорожать. Видеокарты начинают потихоньку дорожать. Ну, то есть все, сейчас все, нет смысла. Надо ждать, когда это все успокоится. Либо собирать комп попроще, вот, да, на AM4 сокете, на 5800 X3D, но тут тоже не все не гладко, потому что тоже надо SSD-шка, оверпрайс, тоже оперативка, пускай там не в 3-4 раза подорожало, но в 2-3 тоже подорожало, поэтому проблемки. Да и сам, сам просто вроде бы нормально сейчас строит, я сейчас посмотрю.
Amazingly, it was kind of like they needed a middling performance to get some PGS points on the board. They flubbed it, man. It was like 16th, and then we came to PGC, and they kind of flubbed it again to a certain degree, right? Like after EWC and PGS 9, I had some high hopes.
I really did, and I had high hopes because I think that I can say that I've been the hardest on them, or one of the hardest, for a while now. This idea of like, how do you maintain a GPT status when you're consistently getting knocked out in the group stages is enraging. I think for everybody, from a fan base idea, from a organizational idea, Gen G, one of the most storied organizations in
Их нет в продаже даже бэушных.
You want to see them thrive, and so having that breath of life.
Как это возможно? Я буквально, когда вот осенью, наверное, или летом, я офигевал, что 5800 X3D стоит бэушки 100 баксов. Я еще у Сереги еще говорю, спрашиваю, типа, это с чем связано? Что, типа, все переходят на M5 сокет, на T-X3D, да, а прошлые свои сливают, и там по 4-5 тысяч гривен был просто. А сейчас вижу только одно предложение за 14 тысяч.
Multiples of those as a roster, it is something that is almost impossible to prepare for.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with the tweaks in the roster and stuff like that would take a little bit of time to really get things going. Or you capitalize on the honeymoon period that some teams have.
Даже полгода не прошло.
Across a lot of disciplines, in many esports, that can be a thing for a while. And a great example of that was GK in the EMEA. That got together, won PEC, and then just never really hit the next stride again, right? But it looks like we will be getting into the game here soon, Toffees. Another Erangel on the card.
Yeah, no, it was good. I liked it.
Quite southern.
Yeah, I like they took us back to the grassy pastures. I think maybe they thought they could glitch it, and since we're starting on our angle, maybe they could get 3 angles in today. But Mark said that is not an option. It's just the 2 grassy pastures. As we get prepped up to head back into this one, it's game number 2 here at PPIM, and I think it is going to be a doozy. I think a lot of teams, James, have looked at that first game and said, all right, there's going to be some early game aggression, and are going to be more prepared for it this time. I don't think anyone was ready for it.
Я понял, почему дорожают оперативки SSD-шки, но почему процессоры дорожают. Вот именно эти.
Look at that! Whoa! I love that. especially since it's
Всё,
very,
я
very
не хочу
cold
больше
in
смотреть.
Korea right now. And by the way,
Процессоры
this is
тоже
the only place, the only time I'll
оверпрайсы
get to game
исчезли.
number 2 that Paper Thin's turtleneck makes sense in the cold, harsh realities of South Korea. But anyway, let's get to it. Game number 2.
Тогда они еще были, да,
So
примерно.
far, Falcons looking good at number 1.
А сейчас вот я на OLX зашел, я не нашел ни 5700, ни 5800. Пару предложений есть, которые вообще неадекватных денег стоят.
He did a great. I love the interview. I love that
Шок.
chat that he
Просто
had. The
шок.
follow-up was nice. I was happy to see Bella back on the stick, so she's doing some nice interviews as well. Excited to have both of them out there.
Да,
So if
сейчас
you
комп
guys do
собирать
have
нельзя,
questions
надо
you'd like us
терпеть.
to send
Кто
to the
хочет
audience,
обновиться, либо
we're the welcome
собирать
to
с
send them
нуля,
in. You can tweet at us, you can put it in the chat, and we will try to catch what we can.
не получится.
To talk to the players, to talk to the coaches, to talk to the teams, as this event, you know, is meant to be a little bit of an insight into how our players work. A lot of them streaming over on Twitch right now. You can check out their perspectives and get some insights as well. So lots of fun ways to enjoy this player's master, whichever way particular
станет нормальная цена. И потом они будут все локти кусать, что типа, ой, переплатил.
YouTube, I'm suspecting all the Chinese players are either streaming on Douyu or wherever they may be. But anyway, looks like Primorsk might get a little bit hot here. 4 a.m. deciding that they do not want to challenge for cars going all the way up to Yasnaya, so they're going to go for this backup drop of the Primorsk. But Furia's also here. The circle actually
ну смотри, Сокол, в чем прикол? Ты купишь 7800 XTD, но ты вот эту разницу, ты даже еще больше переплатишь за оперативку. То есть в случае AM4 сокета оперативка DDR4 не так сильно подорожала, а процессоры подорожали. То есть ты переплатишь за процессор, но еще нормально покупаешь оперативку. В случае 7800 ты за нормальные, в принципе, бабки покупаешь проц, за оверпрайс еще больше покупаешь оперативку. И по итогу ты получаешь мощность почти ту же, но, скорее всего, ты заплатишь больше. То есть там 7800 ты от 5800 далеко не ушел. Да, там оперативка побыстрее, DDR5 и так далее, но игры пока что до сих пор не могут делать так, чтобы весь потенциал оперативной памяти использовался по назначению как надо. Там условно там 3600 DDR4 и 6, там 8 с чем-то тысяч DDR5 в одних и тех же играх с одними и теми же видеокартами. На этих X3 процессорах 5800 и 7800 работают почти одинаково. Несмотря на то, что быстрее оперативка там намного. Поэтому такая странная фигня.
Orca, Delwyn's in a bit of a sandwich here. Orca's got the smokes around the outside. I don't think he has a flash.
Сколько уже лет
М5 существует?
А смысл от него есть прям сильно огромный? Он только, наверное, появился недавно, там, с выходом 9800 XTD. А до 9800 это уровень топового AM4 сокета. Нету такого огромного скачка. И это мы говорим хотя бы еще про игры, которые процессорозависимые, там, пабге и какие-то еще там парочка. Где действительно есть разница. А когда ты играешь какие-то киберпанки, ведьмаки на ультрах и так далее, то там 9800 будет перебор. Еще очень долго.
Everyone else far better armed. Delwyn does make it work as he gets that knock on B. Tanmu goes ahead and gets the grenade on Tozy, and just like that, Genji is put on the back heels. Orca with almost no protection and a scar, gonna try to hold his ground.
Yeah, I think the Expendables overall was just better equipped to deal with this this exchange that's going on. They have Duck Jews and Clories on much better control points.
А подождите, а тут есть реслки? Я не обратил внимания. Чипики реслки.
A bit stuck in that warehouse, but then also scrambling for the reinforcement, whereas
ну, по идее должны... А, да, фаза 1. Нет, стоп, это фаза 1.
Far more boots on the ground, far quicker, far better angles.
Да вдруг в ТПП нету этого всего. Я не в курсе. Открою закупилку. Нет.
not much that Orca's going to do about this, is he's just holding his spot, waiting for it. But if they're smart, they'll do a double up. They throw their grenade first to slow him down, followed by the flash, and here's the first peek. They know where he is. He turns and hightails it out of town, but it only takes 3 grenades.
Они не все бегают в ПГЦ скинах, во-первых. Во-вторых, они не все в темных бегают. Вон в розовых бегают. Видимо, тут запрета нет никакого. Что там по требованиям, куда смотреть, что должно быть? Ты что, тебе хочешь купить коптилку, что ли? Эх, гены так хорошо сыграли прошлую катку, 9 поинтов, а тут сдохли в первом. Обидно.
All right, Bagel and the rest of the lobby making a massive
Коптилки теперь бывают разные. Есть коптильные шкафы, как у меня коптильный шкаф. Есть такая, как мангал коробочка. Есть коптилка, там такой гриль, стол-гриль огромный, и сбоку приварена типа бочка, и там коптить можно. И дым уходит с этого гриля, уходит туда, и там оно коптится. Ну, то уже сильно дорого, то уже сильно наворочено. Смотри, Серега Щеголев купил тоже, бати подарил коптилку, но вот именно вот она выглядит как, ну, как большая кастрюля прямоугольная. Такая, ну, это тоже хорошо можно коптить, тоже будет копченый продукт. По-своему хорош. В шкафу коптильном. По-своему хорош. И то копченое. Просто шкаф чем лучше, тем, что ты можешь загрузить дофига сразу. А в этой кастрюльке ты много не закоптишь. Ну, в такой кастрюльке ты температуру идеальную не выдержишь. И, что важно очень. Ну, есть свои плюсы и минусы. Ну, тоже получается. Да, Nexus, привет.
Yeah, they had to stop after that first spray, so they do hit the back of the gas station, but it's not an easy place to push from. Little Ghost doing a great job of fighting this solo, gets another knock there with the range help from OO, and they're going to make this play. BGP now down to almost no players left. Is exactly where you push up there. They've got a lot of cover, and they're down and drive back away.
Это БГПшники улетели.
The last 2 minutes trying to find somewhere to just park the car. It feels like me, Christmas shopping.
БГПшники улетели и все сдохли. Кроме одного.
Just a gamer here? He's gaming right now.
Что по наградам вообще без понятия.
Very nicely done by the squad for this hold. At the same time, though,
самогонный аппарат
for a
есть.
circle like this, they don't want to be the ones also then sandwiched eventually by other teams that
Ну,
might want to move their
шкаф коптильный стоит дорого, сразу говорю.
Completely gone now, so this is more kill points.
Сейчас я попробую найти информацию.
And Tiggleton finds Wicked. What are they going to do without their IGL?
You know, probably exactly the same as the last game. It does feel like the calls are not super crisp. You know, we joked at the start, maybe they're going to be giving each other, like, you know, SEAL Team 6 hand signals while they play. Because I do think that there is that challenge of the need to communicate on the fly, especially with shifts like this to the south. It's not going to be easy to sort of make those moves. So this is a fascinating super team that's going to be a case study in how to bring regions together.
Да.
I completely agree. I'm thinking to myself, the call's coming from inside the house. Like, they might actually sabotage each other a little bit in some of the calls. Who knows? Like, we don't know. I'd love to kind of get some kind of inside perspective on that. But
там же было
anyway,
написано 4, тут написано, кстати, 5 каток в день.
Watching 4 AM or just mosey on past them. There will be no knocking here, it looks like. An attempt at a spray, but that's a hard angle to really hit all the bullets on as he runs away.
Love this little compound for 4 AM.
Первое место $50,000.
17 in particular is doing it. That we're going to see a insane amount of camps, particularly for large.
Так, формат 15 матчей, 5 матчей каждый день. Победитель матча выбирает карту для следующего матча. Выбрать можно только карты из киберспортивного пула. На каждой карте можно 40 более 2 матчей в день. За каждое убийство игрок получает $100 США. Каждый победитель матча получает $1000. Получается, Фальконы за топ-1 взяли, да, там 1000 получили. Там за киллы за каждый килл $100. Команда, набравшая наибольшее количество очков каждый день, получает приз в размере $5000. Призовой фонд. Как показано ниже, между участниками распределено 200 тысяч долларов США. Первое место 50 тысяч долларов, остальные места пока прочерки. Короче, каждый килл 100 долларов. Топ-1 в катке 1000 долларов. Наибольшее количество очков в день 5000 долларов. Итак, 3 дня, и потом призыв. Вот что он бежит и приседает как дурак, он даже неправильно делает. Nexus. Теперь будет не больше ТПП, а весь киберспорт будет ТПП.
Surely we will. Surely. Should be the north. So this will allow Twisted Minds. They've already got an e-pickup going and ready to go if they want to actually try and hit some middle position. And there are quite a few 2-2 splits and things of the like there. So they could do that, or they could just opt to drive because there's also going to be decent entry points for them as well, which is looking like that's what they're going to be doing. Poser, though, is still stuck a little bit here against
Поздравляем с победой. А что, мы за что-то дрались разве? Мы себе чилили спокойненько, играли ТПП, они сами к нам пришли. Они сами сдались. Сделал пару кило, отбил проживание в отеле. Ну, по идее, проживание в отеле им должны спонсировать. Ой, тут громко. По идее, как бы игроки за это не платят, если я не ошибаюсь.
But he's going to buy a little bit of space, call in. That's a very dangerous emergency cover for the record.
Blinded at the moment. Here is Shen, but he knows exactly where he is. He hits some of those shots through the top side of that smoke. That's crazy stuff. Because you just get.
А можно мне такой челлендж на стримы? Каждый килл 100 баксов. Я бы стрим никогда не заканчивал. Это был бы вечный стрим. Ладно, там за топ-1 можно 1000 долларов не давать. Просто 100 долларов килл.
I find it fascinating that he's not getting any help from his teammates. They've said this is a 2-2 split, and you are on it. You're on your own, buddy. There's been no reaction.
Бедный БГПшник, они ехали толпой, ворвались на заправку, 17 их раздробили. И он остался один. Это хана. Да, ресалки есть на месте. Нави, шо вы? Только 3 кильчика заработали, 300 баксов.
Yes, he could. Nice cheeky little bullet drop there to be able to pop some of those tires. He knows people are over there. There's no reason the vehicles would be there otherwise. Kizera does go for a res. So they have all 4 back alive, technically, with only one having gone down. Poser, though, is going to be very careful. The T1 is moving in on his territory pretty rapidly. So that will be a total bail here from Poser. Smart moves. Mature.
Very smart. Very smart. I do like you. Earlier, we were like, well, Poser's stuck here with 4 a.m., but he was like, I think you're stuck here with me.
Yeah.
Poser's aggression and willingness to take those fights has been pretty good. I do think Furia is one of those teams that has been strongish in the Americas region. I think they've been sort of figuring out where they fit into the whole scheme of things. They were a little bit out of sorts at PGC. I think as we move into the next year, though, they have a very good mental place where they're looking to get stronger and better. So I think next year is one of those years that I'm tuned into to Furia to see
не происходит ничего.
And they had a great start to the Masters, right, at the start of the year. So, I mean, they won out some of the Masters, which was impressive over in that region as a whole. So they definitely know what they're doing here for PPMI. As now Salute is also trying to show us he knows what he's doing. And getting a few shots off on show. The good old owner of 17 back on the field again.
Понятно все.
We should be going north
Все
here.
понятно.
We do.
Maybe.
Хорошо, что я сначала читаю в голове, а потом глазами.
I don't buy that. I will say this. The Freaks were in the best position in this game until a couple of minutes ago. And now they are in quantifiably the worst possible position.
Так, БГПшник с обрезом беспонтовым в упоре что-то сделает. Он не прибьет с первого и со второго раза. Это обрез он. Обрез он никакущий. Стрельба как с танка стреляешь, а толку нет. Как пощечину толку. Сосед кого-то вырубил. Даже прибил. Сюда плюс 200 баксов. Нормально. Есть плюшки за просмотр соревнований. Это вопрос или утверждение?
His ability to get out of 3 different fights. Okay, I take it all back. Well, he was slippery for a while, but the grease doesn't last forever. And Lou is going to go ahead and
Обрез вблизи нокает. Ну, если прям вот между вами метр, то да.
Having the casualties as early as they did, and being so congested in this area, was always going to be difficult for him. But you're right, he did survive for a little bit longer than I was expecting as well. Shen now charging up an aid, nose golds up there somewhere.
Про плюшки после катки разыграю кодик, потом еще после катки кодик разыграю.
So won't be able to get that knock just yet. Still, all of these Chinese teams just kind of stuck against one another.
Немножко что-то будет. Вот клан команда GDG, там Spaceman. Один из них Spaceman. Он даже на миникарте его видно уже. Вот же он, Space. Ну что ты стрим запускай, где ты лазишь? Как обычно валяется. Еще сам себя жахнул. Я думаю, даже $1 за килл офигенно. Ну да, я бы реально, если у меня кровать есть, я бы тут спал, я проснулся сразу стримить. То есть стрим не врубал бы. Проснулся сразу делать киллы. Тут бы ел, тут бы ходил в туалет. Ну ладно, в туалет я бы отходил бы туда. В принципе, у меня мышка беспроводная, клавиатура тоже можно было брать с собой. У меня есть такой столик, знаешь, типа, ну... Вон, видишь, торчит кусочек. Маленький столик такой. Его можно, получается, пока в туалете сижу, на коленке, клавиатуру, мышку с собой. И... что, как мне монитор туда? Ну, 2 варианта. Либо поставить перед собой планшет и по беспроводу кинуть туда изображение и дальше играть, делать киллы. Либо VR-очки, тоже по облаку, по воздуху тоже передавать картинку. И в VR-очках, ну так удобнее, в VR-очках будет удобнее. И можно, пока я в туалете сижу, можно еще кат-скот играть. Вот так бы делал. И стрим шел бы пару месяцев, каждый килл $1. Пару тысяч баксов заработать было бы нормально. Да не, сэр, ты не наш Spaceman. То просто такой челик с таким же ником. Так сложилось. Блин, хотел пошутить, что типа да, это он, но это было бы жестко. А что он этот Якоб? Он Якоб с Монарх. Че он не ложился? По нему 3 плюхи прилетело, потом еще там пару раз не попали. Он под окном дальше лазил. Глупый какой-то. Якобс. Копия. На СКП нравится больше почему-то, чем Якобс.
Do know that T1 is ahead of them. They've been trading a little bit of blows back and forth. Guzera using this trench area to see exactly where they were moving around, but he's going to think twice about the peek-on over because I think there were some shots coming in from him against E-Arena and the like, so got to be careful.
Я понимаю, что у меня есть тиммейты, которые поднимут, но это же не прикольно. Ты минус броник себе делаешь, минус шлем, минус скиллы.
It can. I think that's the PGC 2022.
I thought it was 23, but you might be right. I remember the purple. It was a good color.
Так что Нави еще живые, хорошо. Что-то их не видно вообще. Прибили 2 и все, больше ничего не видно. Так, что 17-й ТЕ. Даже не знаю, у кого лучше позиции. Но тот, кто сверху, тому лучше, по идее. Но тут такой бугор, трава, но все мешает. Непонятно. Ой, хороший гранат, но никого не вырубило.
But it does tell them where they are, or it tells them where they aren't, I guess is a better way to put that. As the push will come up over the top, Tandu with the long spray. Opons does knock Heaven elsewhere as E-Arena is trying to hold out teams on the left side of the map. Duck Juice getting sprayed down. Lil Ghost turning on as he gets another knock and moves up the hill, trying to square off with Clories.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of attempts at people trying to, like, see players through grass and
так, и в итоге и ТЕшники, и 17-й будут выходить на Нави, которые заняли красные домики. Интересно. Одного уже вальнули. Остальные ТЕшники решили свалить. Плюс $100 Кстанц. Нави.
how these fights are going to go down. And for the Expendables, they're going to fall victim to it and run away.
Meanwhile, H-Win out there again with the M24 continuing to work in on the bolt.
Нормально. Для Нави даже очень хорошо. Не 100 баксов плюс. Нокнутого дохавали другие. 17 какой-то там. Думаю, вот апельсинку хавать час или потом. Не люблю апельсин, знаете за что? Вот они вкусные. О, миномет. Апельсинки вкусные, но они чистятся так тяжело. Мандаринку что там, поддел ноготочком, хоп, поснимал шкурку и хаваешь. А тут оно всегда, вот шкурка плотнее, она отрывается маленькими кусочками. Она вот это вот еще это белое потом, белой фигни под шкуркой много. Бесит апельсины. Так, сишка пошла в твистоп, и что? Не доезжает как будто. А, доехала и... Нет? А, ее деактивировали взрывом гранаты, вы поняли? Хотя таймер шел, ну как бы машина ехала, и таймер сишки, он как бы... Он шел, но в итоге она не взорвалась.
And it sounds like the Falcons are going to probably try to hard push off the back of that knock. Molodok hoping to defend. H-Win jumps out. Molodok on the hill. Good grenade bounce, but a little bit too deep. Second car coming in.
Еще одна машина. О, тут это уже взорвалось.
And it goes boom. Just down to example. He's on the close. He does manage to get kickstart. Looking to follow up. Good utility. But H-Win is not having it. You know he's going to call this push out.
At the same time, Himas is looking for an off angle to try and third party this. He's got a FAMAS in hand as well. He goes for one. Does find H-Win. Will he be able to get more? Just one or two more.
Нормально, тут челик подъехал, разрулил всю ситуацию. В одиночку. Против троих Фальконов. Понятно, не получилось у него. А чё он еще тут один? А, он не один. Который с ним тоже сдох. Ну, почти получилось у них.
That said, though, anyone's legend is gone. The two legends on anyone's legend, I think, just hit just at the wrong time with one another. If this was properly coordinated between the two, I think this could have completely flubbed for Falcons, but it will be Twisted Minds that puts in the boot for Falcons.
They're really the ones that came out ahead on that one. Example was down to just example. And what is that, Stonehenge?
Зона и...
over there on the left. Down to just example, and he had to try to make a play. It was that push in by Himas that bought him the space he needed. Ultimately, he gets that last kill, and they'll be able to put some extra placement points on the board. Because in the day, still winning is winning. Furia down in 8th place. They have been far more focused on placement than fights, I think, in this tournament so far, James. And I'm curious to see if that pans out for them.
По-твоему делаю?
And we'll see 9 points on the board so far. FW still surviving up on this
А этот монетки потихоньку собирать буду.
Previously saying that maybe they could get crunched down on. I think it's difficult for these teams on the edge.
Ну давай.
Fights and then eventually push up there in the time that they could have tried for it. So, but that said though,
апельсинку раздел.
Someone has him on his
Все,
fantasy
после
team
катки
somewhere.
захаваю.
Has already got himself a knock. As Banana won, Neurons does take this fight.
Так, Нави там всех мочит и мочит. 10 очков уже, хорошо. 5 кило, 500 баксов заработали на команду. Давайте еще, потом скиньте мне на карту.
Trying to hold people out. Remember, these were the difference makers early on in the T1 fight as they held the interior of the
Твисты в одиночку, один челик остался, ДНФ тоже. Надо их мочить, чтобы они больше не фармили поинты, то что-то не офигели. 22 поинта, Фалькон, ДНФ 21, 17 и 20. Что это такое?
I can also appreciate FW's onus on pushing this though and trying to shut down some of the threats that could potentially come their way as the arena was kind of stuck behind a few trees here and there. That said though, there is still an example lurking in the wings near this fight. If he decides to exert himself upon this, it could be very difficult for FW if one of their members does go
Скоптили не помог вообще, говорит.
with the rest of E-Arena.
Тебе в сраку посылали сегодня или нет?
Does take him down though. One more left on E-Arena here to try and hold off.
ДНФ прибили, хорошо.
Navi hoping that they can wrap this one. F1 having a dream of winning as they do get example eliminated. He was the solo. They also knock out 2 players of E-Arena, and they can see a possible victory in the future.
Ну, не знаю, может быть, после самого турнира, может быть, где-то на сайте официальном можно скачать реплей и поклацать. Я этого не знаю точно. Может быть, такое и есть. Ну, все те, тогда сегодня никто тебя не пошлет. Я понимаю, что ты хотел, но нет, не буду. Терпи. И что, все поздыхали, и для Нави никого не осталось на ком фармить поинтом. 3 челика и все. Это уже неинтересно. Ханаха Хатори, короче. Нави топ-2. Нави, там за первое место 1000 баксов дают, топ-1 берите. За первое место в каждой катке $1000.
Time to turn on alongside the rest of his team. These hillsides, if there's any more nades in hand, you've got to use them soon. Try and get an eye on someone. Cook it to perfection, which is a little bit easier here at PPMI.
А нокнутого тиммейтика вы не хотите поднять? Время же есть. О, подъезжает, нормально.
And then get back to a 4 strength. Meanwhile, T1 is using that time to spread out across the north side of this circle. They are, instead of stopping the
Да не, сэр, он где-то там лазит, где-то шляется. Он собирает манатки, чтобы домой поехать. Я не знаю. Это его уже проблемы.
Tough from T1 as well. They had the knock and they've not been able to capitalize on it. That means Navi's
now
back.
Ну, у Нави раскида побольше.
So we'll see, though. It looks like if you were watching the map as well, that
не, ну а что, Nexus, это все же вторая катка. Там, что там. Да и не были не в конце, они были в серединке. С 5 поинтами.
T1 does have kind of the strength of the middle circle spot. The numbers will count for something here.
I really want to. Oh, here comes T1. They're moving into a more aggressive position. I do want to really see that. You see that stack chart of all the utility a second ago? That was very, very cool. As we can see sort of what everybody had going into this thing. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. Navi needs to have enough lethal and some smokes to cover that east side of the hill as they push up to the top of it. Otherwise, I just don't know how you get out of this pit.
Yeah, I think T1 realizes being stuck on that east side where they were, just 2 on exactly the same spot.
Nexus, есть таблица, там распределяется $200 000 на призовые все места. Наверное, на все 16. Но пока там прочерки везде, кроме первого места. Первое место $50 000. И сколько дают за остальные, неизвестно. Но написано, что призовой фонд 200 000. За каждый килл в катке, в любой катке, за каждый килл 100 баксов, за топ-1 в каждой катке 1000. За первое место по поинтам, за первое место по поинтам каждый день 5000 баксов. То есть, допустим, как я понял, если сегодня, например, по поинтам Фальконы заканчивают день, то им 5000 баксов плюс. Завтра, например, Нави заканчивают по поинтам второй день. Они тоже получают 5000. А вот за третий день нелогично давать 5000 баксов плюс за первое место, потому что это и так первое место. Ну там так написано. За первое место по очкам плюс 5000. За просмотр не на карту не капнет, к сожалению. Всем что-то капает, но не нам.
And how will Ferris move from the spot that he's in? Because currently Heather knows that he's down there. He was able to see him via crawling where he was. Oh, at least he has a car available, so that is going to make things a little bit easier along with the smoke path as well. So they've already preempted the problem that could arise. Some shots go his way, but nothing connects.
Не, ну полчасика между первой и второй каткой это было, конечно, жестко, это долго. Надеюсь, это было один раз такое, только больше такого не будет.
They weren't going to be able to get away with it. That's the one thing we talked about with perspective, right? Sure, you can see more, but the transition to be able to maximize and put damage out still means you have to be exposed yourself. So Na'Vi doing a very good job of cutting down the ability for T1 to sort of get anything out of this information gathering. They can't peek. They haven't looked over the top of the hill once as the circle continues to close.
Because they know once a peek comes in, that gives away a lot of information here. Heather's Heather is the one that's being the sneakiest, being the kind of like the X factor here for T1. Because they know his man down. They kind of need that. They don't know he's here. They don't know at all. They're trying to cover the angle. But yeah, the info's obscured to them.
I think this is him maximizing the format. Going to go ahead and crawl up as close as he can. Na'Vi has no idea just yet because they're not over peeking here, and he will be able to play this backstab. You can see right there he does have a visual on our anchor here for Na'Vi. This could open the door.
Ну вот этот вот от дропа, блин, вот у Нави постоянно такая фигня. В прошлом турнире один челик Virtus.pro за зоной пришел, прибил всех, зарувинил топ-2 на всем турнире. Тут одного пропустили в бок сейчас, и вот я уверен, он наделает дело. Как будто очевидно.
So he does manage to grab some supplies out of there and has a flank position. They're exposed. He opens up. That's what the FAMAS is great for. Heather goes wild on that opening spray. Ferris is down, and that's $100, and now a 3v3.
It's go time now. Goes for another spray as well. That gets traded against though. And gotta be careful. Gotta stay back and hide as much as you can. Nades should be able to connect with this if Navi's on point.
Все, посыпались. Посыпались.
Gets Hakatori. Gets extends. Gets a third. That's raining.
Опять у них эта ситуация, когда один челик сбоку меняет все полностью.
Gets the FAMAS that was unlooted. The 3x spray to open the fight, and that's all they needed. The second that knock happened on Ferris, T1 said the
давайте по-быстренькому надо разыграть кодик.
And that's the beauty. They knew where Na'Vi was. They knew that if they triple peaked all at the same moment, Na'Vi would spend too much time trying to track them down. And now they get to lift the flag. They get to walk to the draft. They get to choose the next match.
Do they go Tego? That's my question, considering the hot drop scenarios we outlined earlier on, but what a play from them.
Smells like Miramar.
Down. There it is.
Выбирают карту, которую хотят поиграть.
Well done. Well done.
Fantastic stuff coming out from them. Just being able to execute that against the man down.
А вот и Викинг. Теперь он не OLX, теперь он Миори.
This is what it seems like Na'Vi they're gonna have to learn, right?
Ты в игре тоже опять переименовался?
Considering that this can be a potential.
Yeah, Na'Vi was hyper focused on the top of that hill. It was such a strategic position. I just thought they thought to themselves, there's no way that they send someone out. And the slow, measured, risky play to play that flank was huge because if they had seen him for even a second, that was an automatic loss for T1 if they lost him on the outside. So a beautiful play, high risk, high reward, and they come away with $1,000.
Они в начале катки было 3
points. Get Matt back in here because it's highlight time.
Так, ну ладно, значит, кодики. Кодик получает человек с ником X8II, он же Богдан. Алло, алло, алло. Пиши мне в Discord, кодик твой, а я пока на пару минут отойду.
Very well navigated to really get control over the hillsides, and like you guys were talking about, setting up the stages for the later sections of the game. It felt like that was what everybody was jockeying for, was the different hillside positions to try to play around, and I loved this backstab coming up from anyone's legend Colaris. You guys pointed out in the cast, and then Shrimsy, I think, what was it? Toffee's called it a manly push.
It was a manly push. Well, he was mad that they were getting third party. Shrimsy's had enough of it. So he just goes amped, gets a knock there. Example then able to turn around and get the backstab. Our top team's playing like top teams, but I think, you know, this is a tough one. You don't get a circle. The rotation is there. And I think what we're also noticing is the crashes have been very aggressive. Kylaris, I think that the fact that you can scout a third party without overly exposing yourself initially means that when there's the chance, everyone's coming in to investigate the opportunity to get some more kills.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of adaptation required for when you're trying to transition, even not just like crashing compounds, but transitioning past compounds, right? Like we saw as teams are trying to make that kind of thing happen. Again, it's like a bit notorious of a bridge camper situation, right? But like if you're trying for something like that here, you cannot know how many barrels are eventually going to be looking your way. So teams like Bagopar fall victim to that. So got to be careful. I will say, in this very late game here, I'm a little bit... aside that you know, Na'Vi kind of threw this away the way that they did. Not having anybody watching this potential angle is quite a mishap for them.
I was actually pretty dumbfounded. Whenever I look at Na'Vi, this is a squad that we know is known for territory control, specifically like leaning into hackatory strengths and those types of things. They knew the hillside and the weakness. The shift away from T1 was extremely strong. But to not notice anybody creeping up, especially whenever we're looking at this in TPP, that feels like that should have been highly noticeable to offense.
I mean, here's the thing. I think it's a move that no one would ever made in the old days, right? Because there would have been absolutely zero vision or functionality from Heather in that position. And so the fact that he was able to do it, I think Na'Vi just has to retrain the way that they think. You have to retrain the way that you look for snakes, and that's going to be a process.
We've got ourselves an interview that is set and raring to go, so we're going to go ahead and hop in and get some inside track on what's going on with the squads.
Hey guys, I'm here with so said after that disappointing second place, able to back themselves with 7 kills, but more importantly, you are now second on the leaderboard though. So obviously Wrangle's done and dusted. We spoke though off air that you actually like the wildcard maps and you like Tego. What's the game plan going into game number 3?
We lose this game because we lose our space, lose our that's angle, and TPP is hard to play. So we will think of about like our angles for TPP, you know, like for the next games. Yes, and probably we win. We will choose the Diego, yeah, 100%, or Miramar. But not Rondo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're happy with the pick. We're happy with the pick of Tego. Obviously, Desk, I don't know if you guys got any questions though, Deserves Lead or Na'Vi in general. Obviously, I need to repeat them, so over to you guys for a moment.
I mean, why weren't you guys watching that box? Heather seemed to crawl up to a spot that was very dangerous. Oh, never mind.
Has it been like? Was there anything special that caught you off guard?
In these games, honestly, just kind of how much people are sending it. I think people are playing less to fight and more for positions, so it's been a lot of driving and just chaos with the vehicles.
Yeah, a lot of chaos in vehicles, right? I did have a question to Shrimzy, because first Erangel, you and Longzy got to the car about the same time, but you unfortunately locked the shotgun. So what was going through your mind when you saw that someone was next to you?
I'm usually the car guy. Like, I don't really lose the car battles, so I was a little embarrassed, not gonna lie. I had to tell the boys that I lost it, but we made $100, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool, right? Well, speaking of kills, have a price on them this time, right? Well, second, Erangel, your first kill, Team Falcon's first kill, was about like 19 minutes in. Is that part of the approach to lay low? Like, tell us more. You gotta give us more.
I mean, we're going to try and pick him up where we can get him, but yeah, I found Wikid slacking, which was nice. I don't know how that team's communicating. I think maybe there was a miscomm because they're half Vietnamese and half Korean with the substitute players, so not sure, but I mean, I'll take that all day.
Right. And Human, I asked him, what are you going to do with all the kills, money? And he said he's trying to get 5 kills per match so that he can get a new phone. What do you guys want for the holiday?
It's an expensive phone.
I wanted a Porsche, but you know, I don't have a Porsche, so congratulations to Belmont.
Yeah, shout out to Belmont. All right.
I'll buy one rim.
And you can buy 1 wheel. Okay. All right. Well, that's from Tig and Shrimzy, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye. Bye-bye.
Michael, let's get Mike. Matt, can we? I think I want to know more about how the Falcons played that last game. Matt, can we get our professional in here to explain some of these early game choices?
Yeah, Michael, come on, jump in and get involved, and let's try to figure out a little bit what's going on as we're going to be looking at stats from the last game.
Yeah, it looked like Falcons are playing their normal style. They're playing first person as well. They're chilling, waiting for the right time. They're not going to throw their lives away for needlessly. But Catering got an insane early knockout of a car in Battlelands, and they got the flush. And then later, they actually had 2 C4s to bomb Twisted Mind's dip and Tiggled in our mortars as well. It just seemed like they couldn't connect the C4s and mortars as well as they should have, because then AL, Himas just comes flying out of the compound, takes a really aggressive angle, and it seemed to really cripple Falcon's game and just kill their game right there.
Interesting to see, like, the counterbalance between the mortars being a double-edged sword there. The game itself was just overall very, very intriguing as we're looking through, Michael. I know that in the earlier sections of it, you and I were talking, and really a certain section of the aggression that came out really caught your attention. Like, was what you were kind of expecting to be happening in that game? Like, we just got done talking about that Erangel can sometimes maybe be a bit slow and in TPP, but it feels like the wheels just kind of came off.
Yeah, like I said last game as well, there's teams that plan on playing slow and plan to play for the $1,000 win, and then there's also teams that are playing for $100 and get the big buckaroos for each kill. I think TE definitely want those kill points, the money for the kills as well. They just came flying at Genji, took Genji's prio off them, and completely sent them back to the lobby early.
Yeah, I think ending up with 6 kills overall, so kind of spread across as I think several of them got picked up, but we've got ourselves marked with another interview that we're going to do a quick check-in with.
Hey guys, as we lost a player, what a better person to get than the coach. Apologies, someone walks across the camera, but we're in an open area here. So let's talk a bit about that game too, right? I agree. I think Na'Vi should have won that game. What was going through your mind sitting in the coach room?
Yeah, the game was ours, but we needed to make a proactive move. The proactive move should be done there because we didn't have the terrain on our side. Basically, T1 has 3 players, but they still hold the high ground, and the only play was through the right wing. We needed to utilize the advantage of numbers and just push right away the right flank, and that's it. And we are not actually ready, and no one thought about that in TPP the guy can prone to the airdrop and just see everyone, because it's bigger FOV at that moment. And yeah, so a little bit outplayed, but boys keep it up, and I think they will make it better in the future games.
Well, I believe Matt has got a question. So now you're eager. I'm fighting people off there trying to cut across our camera. Matrim, you obviously.
И что они до сих пор не начали? Ну это прикол какой-то. Они опять полчаса между катками будут тут вот. Так, Богдан, кидаю тебе 500 джекоинов. Это какая-то несерьезная фигня. Ну это что это такое? Это 5 каток превратятся по времени в 10. Сколько они уже болтают это вот? Матч закончился 10 минут назад, 11 минут назад.
Yeah, it was completely unseen. We knew the guy could pick from the ridge, but we didn't know that he can prone over there and go right to the crate. So yeah, it was unseen. It could have been predicted only by thinking a little bit more, overthinking stuff, and that's it. Like focusing on threats at that moment. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. First look, though, obviously TPP, the angles causing some of these teams some issues. I'll throw it back to you guys. I'll see you in the next one.
It seems like we were on the right track, where I think when we talk about the need to adjust your mental space approaching those fights, is exactly what a lot of these teams are going to do, right? Na'Vi, one of the top performing teams in terms of the new roster since they put it together.
Уже начинается катка
Didn't
почти.
think about the fact you can crawl up on that.
Нифига себе. Прошло всего лишь минут 12.
So we are ready for our next map. T1 gets to choose it. Our plane is up in the air. We're ready for some more TPP action. It's time to Tego!
Ура.
All right, well, Tego on the cards, and kind of as we predicted for T1, it seemed like the obvious choice considering the hot drops that were potentially prevalent on the other maps. That said, though,
Андрей, привет, кстати,
as we get into
забыл.
game number 3, seems like Na'Vi doesn't mind it either. Over in the grand finals of PGC, on Tego, they had a 12.7 average across the 3 Tegos played. So, regardless of who had won that previous game, I think we were bound to go to Tego for the last 2 teams.
I agree with that. I think it's both. All of our teams seem to enjoy this idea that let's go to some maps that have a little extra cover, a few extra dips, and let us have that adjustment period. I think if you aren't a middle send team in the meta right now, your best option is to look at maps like this with a lot more variance, a lot of potential to catch teams off guard, and maybe maps that teams honestly just aren't as, I don't want to say familiar because we've been playing this map for a while, but if you ask them for the nooks and crannies, they don't know these maps as well as they know Erangel and Miramar in particular. And that is just an honest truth. So I think there's a world where that can work to your benefit, especially if you're a team like Na'Vi who's saying, you know what, we need to sort of reprogram how we mentally approach these fights. Let's take it to something that might take some of our teams off kilter.
And one of the things I'm going to be looking for on Tego as well are technically what should have been Furia and JDG towards Palace as well. However, Furia is completely back off from that kind of hot drop. So JDG is going to be okay with eventually getting to Palace. It's going to be a little bit of a longer drop, but they can just glide on over there pretty harmlessly. Whilst Furia looks to be going southeast towards that kind of hospital area that was at one point Studio. I miss Studio. That was cool, man.
It was.
Never went there, but
I know. I mean, I walked through it a few times. It was always too hot. I'm not a hot drop kind of guy. I'm a loot, get yourself ready to fight, and then go find a spot. But that's because I'm a rat, and we all know that and accept the truth. Rats forever. Chads can die. All right, so I do like that the teams are starting to maybe, I think, move away from this idea of there's $100 for kills. Let's go to war early, and realize that you would need to get 500 kills to make as much money as winning the tournament. So maybe it's a nice bonus, but in the early game, we still need to look at how do we progress into the late game.
Definitely a lot of money.
Только что показали, типа, у них ники как говноники. Некоторые.
That would be awesome. Of course, T1 had a brilliant second Erangel here with, it looks like, Heather as well as Raining getting 5 apiece. End not having much impact on that, but of course they were 3 for a long time. Good to see Type up there as well. Because again, I was really disappointed that in PGC finals, Type was just not keeping up with End, Raining, Heather. They were really standing above Type as a whole, which is a bit uncharacteristic for the roster. Because I think for us, when we kind of looked at some of those bigger moments for T1 throughout the year, Type was one of the guys that was really doing a lot. So good to see him back on board.
Yeah, it is good to see him back on board. I think a lot of us had him at PGC on our fantasy rosters. His pricing seemed tragic based on his pre-Grand Finals performances. But as I put him on my team and watched him play, his pricing made perfect sense to me.
He did nothing.
He did not.
Челик почему-то один.
But he also
Опять челики по одному катаются.
Part of the thing about what Type brings to this team, as we watch FW sort of drive around, they're trying to scout. Shen has the car parked outside, so they're very aware of his presence right now. But I think that's what he brings to the team. He is sort of going to put himself in that tank position, get out in front a little bit. And so
тот катается, но тот еще ладно, там у него тиммейты там на перекрестке где-то в ангарах. А где тиммейты этого 4АМ? Вон тиммейты катаются рядышком. Все, этот увидел типа, дал инфу. Тот еще пострелял вроде бы зачем-то. 4АМ. Но они, видимо, не поняли, что он там один. И вот только сейчас подъезжает тиммейтик.
He knew what was going on to a certain degree. Sixax was hoping that he could see something, but didn't see too much. A few shots went his way, so that kind of really alerted him to what was happening. And Shen's going to get completely unscathed, get on out of there if he needs it. But this, for now, this spot is theirs.
All right, nice wide circle that takes up the entire middle of the map. So this is going to be, the last games were about some early fighting and jockeying for prime positions. I think this is going to be a very different map for a little while. There's lots of decent spots here for teams to sort of set themselves up. What we're going to see is a lot of driving, probably in twos, to find the optimal position, right? Because the prio compounds that you sought out at FPP are not going to be the prio compounds that you consistently search out in TPP. So a lot of these players, you can see them moving up and down hills, saying, okay, is this the spot that I want? How do I want to utilize this area? And what I'm excited about in the transition is that I think we're going to start to see locations, spots, compounds that were not as heavily utilized in first-person perspective become significantly stronger as we get more and more accustomed to TPP.
Well, you can work with some crazy dips, like, because you can see 360 around you. Wicked takes down Ferris very quickly and swiftly here. Some reinforcing shots did come in from Hakatora to see if they could get a little bit of a knock on him ass, but he moves on away from that. Looks like Anyone's Legend was totally okay with the knock, and then the straight retreat, or at least towards this hill line. They knew that being out in the open of these fields was just going to be too much of a potential threat.
But I think as we talk about, like, I think even stuff in the future where we talk about the incoming premise of, like, destructible terrain on all maps, the ability to dig a small hole with a grenade on the top of these hilltops becomes so much more powerful when you talk about third-person perspective versus traditional our FPP that we're used to. So I think a lot of teams are going to be exploring, how do we crack open the strategy? How do we make this more of a chess game instead of a blunt force trauma? And we're starting to see that develop a little bit here at this event. But I think over the next year, it's going to become even more of sort of that mental match in the mid-game.
Are you advocating for the pickaxe?
No, God, no. It's way too slow. If they made it bigger and badder, yes. I dig all of my holes exclusively with grenades. Like, it just is a more effective way to dig a hole, right? Or follow the red zone. Red zone, when you see one, it's like a creation of a strategic area for you. You're like, oh, that'll be a great spot soon.
Suddenly, there's so many dips here. This is crazy. Yeah, you're right.
The red zone doth provide.
As someone who has, in the last couple of days, been driving over the remnants of red zones and then flipping my car haphazardly because there's not supposed to be a little crater there, yeah. Great times.
Great times. And honestly, I've been enjoying the driving as much as anything else. Being able to see my car, being able to really execute those motorcycle backflips and enjoy the view of it has been a win. I know, right? No Porsches in this lobby, but you know they've got them normally.
Oh, yeah. Well, Flame's getting back up as it looks like Genji currently. Where are they? Are they dead center? Okay, so there's like slightly south center for all of these teams whilst everyone's playing a big center play. And I think that for a lot of these teams, right, if they can get away with a 2-2 split center, I think most of them, even if you're an edge team in this format, will be trying to go for a decent center spot. If the circle's coming your way, you can scout a lot easier against some of these teams trying to rotate past you or trying to go for a mad dash if the circle does shift away from them. And you should be able to pick up some free kills here and there.
I think that the edge, this is going to be the hardest transition. Teams that are traditionally edge teams that have built their entire strategy on pie slicing, this idea that you sort of run wedges from the outside, is going to be off the table for a lot of teams, especially on maps like Erangel. So this new sort of adjustment to either becoming mid teams or becoming what I would call map teams. These are teams that plan out every rotation based on compounds that they know are pushable for almost every circle is going to sort of be where we end up here. I think it's going to be a while till we see teams that are truly map teams where they go, okay, I know from our spawn, these are all of the spots that are pushable from this perspective. All we need is 2 smokes to take this compound. That is going to be a practice driven. But the first team to come up with that next year, and I think manage that as a viable edge style tactic, could sort of shift everything. Because I think for now, it's going to be all about who gets to the middle, who gets a defense compound, and who catches circles.
Definitely could. Team kill point. Average points after 2 matches. Surely it's just divisible by 2, no? Are we just...
Don't ask me math questions. Yeah, I think it would be divisible by 2. Very fair.
All right, cool.
Nailed it. 7 per. So right now we do have T1 at the top of that list. These guys were one of those teams that, Clinton said, I think they're going to do well in TPP. I think they're going to be dominant. So far, after 2 games, they are impressing me. But who's catching me off guard is the Falcons. At 22 points, it feels like they haven't even skipped a beat. They're just playing their same old Falcons PUBG.
Yeah, I mean, according to Michael and how they kind of play things out, it looks like they're taking in the same gear, playing it the same way, and seeing how if it does stick. And admittedly, alongside Furia in the Americas, they played well in TPP, man. And then they came into the Masters where we had 8 EMEA and 8 Americas and looked pretty good there as well. So can't really fault them. I think, when you're coming to a team like Falcons, they are just not good PUBG players. They're just great gamers who are going to adapt. In a time where, right, change is here and you've got to adapt, right? They are proficient at that, and they've done it year on year when it comes to meta changes and when it comes to format changes and things like that. They're just great gamers, man.
I think that is going to be the big test this year is adaptability. Whether it is teams that adapt their strategy because we're shifting to third-person perspective, or if it's teams that I think, and in TPP this is true, you have to be significantly more flexible. We're seeing teams sort of scouting in a different way and being willing to sort of back off of a push to say that's what we had planned is not what we are necessarily going to do if the environment isn't right. There's a lot of flexibility requirements and a lot of new areas that you can possibly play. So the teams that are the most dexterous are the ones I think they're going to thrive.
Так, я пришел, а тут ничего толком не поменялось. Один чувак из Нави сдох, вижу, а я бутербродик хаваю.
TPP metas on their feet. West was cool, but this is the first time we've mixed the 2 groups, and so far you can tell some people are struggling.
And That said, now some of those teams in the north become edge teams. Oh, Pons takes down Flame. That's a nice freebie for him as he just rotate past. But watching these teams on the north side become edge teams, what are they going to do? Because Falcons is one of the only teams here that is heading far north. I wonder if they're going to try and go for an insane wrap all the way to the west side. But if they do that, by the time they get there, I suspect it potentially would have been filled up a little bit if some other teams are going to be moving in. Like T1, for example, if we're watching the map, could effectively come in much earlier on the northwest side and then find themselves in, well, a playable spot. I don't know if it's going to be playable as circle shift.
We'll keep an eye on that rotation because it is a bold, long switch by them. Meanwhile, the Expendables are going to chase JDG away, which has kind of been JDG's game so far today, as they keep kind of poking at these compounds, which are always filled already, right? And so you get surprised, you drive away, you try to find something else, and you end up in a shack or on a rock, hoping for the best. Meanwhile, we jump over to another rock where Canaxi for FW Esports has got the White Rabbits pinned down. The problem is they have not been able to capitalize on these pin downs so far today. So if FW can walk away the winners here, that would be...
В чем дело?
Rabbits pinned down. The problem is they have not been able to capitalize on these pin downs so far today. So if FW can walk away the winners here, that would be... Rabbits pinned down. The problem is they have not been able to capitalize on
Это у них зависло?
so far today. So if FW can walk away the...
Лак? О, я думал, это у меня. Нормальный турнирчик. Что-то все через сраку. Я пока попью водички.
Winners here, that would be a big boost to, I think, their confidence in general. Rotation in PUBG history. Outside of that one Luminosity made at the first PGC, I think it was, that lasted forever. The boat
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, that was a thing that did happen. And...
I'll never forget.
Well, yeah, they're still here. They're still trying to...
Минометик тут. Гранатка, пятерки. Шоки в теле.
I like to believe that Luminosity is still out there rotating somewhere. One day they'll return to the fight.
Что ты хочешь?
Да
я не ломал ничего.
Метание.
Нави своего четвертого не вернули чипиком почему-то.
Glad we got a little bit of an eye on what Tiggleton has available.
Может быть, украли чипик.
Or the back of the milk float thing. So at least he does have his sturdy mortar. This might not be so sturdy though. Here as DM Freaks gets taken down. Himas up against Salute. An instantaneous kill off Human. Replies in kind though. Oh, almost gets run over. Gotta be careful here. What a drive-by, jeez.
Yeah, it's a back and forth. I mean, Freaks and anyone's legend were like, hey, we've all got heavy hitters and legends on our team. Why don't we just get to fights whenever we can? So Lolsey coming in, decides maybe he's going to come at this and then drives off to an off angle to try to help out. Meanwhile, Heaven and the boys are just going to pile up right in the middle and say, we'll fight just about anybody. Wicked's going to get flushed. Wait, 17's involved too?
They're trying.
They are
trying. Poking here and there. There's still other teams lurking around them as well. Nades forwards, but he's in the shack. He's okay.
Ой, хорошие гранаты прилетают.
Through the middle of those two vehicles, deal down. Himas is trying to finish this off.
So Lolsey out here playing mini golf as he sinks in underneath the obstacle. Managed to get the knock and the push is on, but I have to assume 17 is going to call in some backup and try to get involved with this as well, as there's just a lot of points on the ground, as does So Said. They're coming in from the other
О,
side.
так это Нави, давай добил, хорошо, плюс 100 баксов.
Without the shark smelling the blood.
Сишка. Сишка на ДНФ, в туалетик, там 3 челика. Нет, дерево! О боже, нет. Ну там же было видно, что в дерево поедет. Немножко руль надо было выкрутить перед выходом. Ну почти.
because that is what they are doing. But that's a roster that could do it. You know what I mean?
Ой, там челик с минометчика. Глянь, 2 нока. Добьет, интересно, или нет?
In a little dip. This is dead center, by the way. So these kinds of positions are very much
попал. Ну тут этот БГПшник сейчас в дым въедет. Не, в этом дыму никого. Ямку хочет кинуть. Туда как раз челик побежал. О, тут еще прилетает миномет уже с другой стороны. Ой-ой-ой, что творится? БГПшники текают. Бедные 4 АМ, им тут все позакидывали. 2 команды минометы. Тут с одной стороны, с другой поприезжали, покидали. Как там еще вдвоем они выжили, я не понимаю.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? Because, I mean, the fact that the circle has now shifted and actually gone the way of their compound. So, yeah, you could have tried for it. And maybe even got a little bit more util in as Delvin was trying for it. Yeah. But, I mean, go back to the safety of the compound. It might even be a free win for them if they can hold on strong like a fortress.
Smart. I like that, especially because they've been having so much trouble sort of adjusting to the perspective. We saw them lose a lot of fights early on. Meanwhile, Batulin is going to get knocked by 7-7-0. Well, I believe Lou is back in on this game.
Yes,
not that it has made a massive difference so far, but I think they're out of a position to possibly rescue Batu, so they're going to be running 3 into the end game here.
Yeah, I think for Twisted Minds on this game in particular is that technically they were in first circle, right? And their normal drop spot as Moldog's trying to do some damage here. But the problem is that people were centered so quickly. Normally Twisted Minds would have a bit more room to actually work with, but because so many teams were so center, that really slowed down them. And you can see them on this east side being constricted a little bit about their movement. So yeah, not too much from Lou coming on out just yet. And with Batu down now, he's just going to have to lead from the sidelines.
I think it's one of the most exciting things I'm excited about with this event right now, as you see the spray of Furia as they go past.
Как эти гены попроезжали, по ним стреляли, все на свете по ним стреляют. Там и твисты, и вот эти фуры, и... А, все-таки Тоси одного высадили. Ладно. Но поначалу по ним очень много стреляли, они как-то проезжали.
I think that, as we were saying before, I think that their truly super aggressive playstyle might not work. And when you've got a compound like this, okay, you just got to hunker down and wait for the game to kind of come your way and then defend from there on out. It's not exactly the TE play style, but you're just going to have to employ that in these kinds of scenarios.
It is a game that now is going to require you to think as defensively as offensively. Meanwhile, Lou's going to go ahead and get that grenade. He just subbed in. Furia smells trouble and gets out of dodge at exactly the right time. They heard the car stop, and Kawazine knew that with that stop, it's going to be a grenade push where you're not going to get a counter peek on them. They're going to be able to just toss that up and over and visualize you from the high ground. So getting out of there and not even taking the cover with him was very, very smart.
Steady, she got still on the east side. Can Twisted Minds do something about this? They are still kind of chasing the circles, and a lot of guns are looking their way. Mordok's going for a very bold nade. Does that reach?
Whoa, that was awesome.
Ну, сейчас фуров закидают. Им бы всем подойти к БРДМу, чтобы ноки не произошли. В принципе, все нормально. То есть там хана. Молодость принимает фур, а экзампл за зоной. Долго он не проживет. Одна аптека у него большая, которую он хавает, и еще одна маленькая.
An example won't get much more done. I think he might just try and keep himself healed up and try and make Fury forget about him and then maybe get a flush after a knock or something like that. That is normally the playbook coming from him. He is shooting towards Fury here for a second. You can see it on the minimap, but so they do know that he is still there. They're going to be very attentive about getting rid of him so that they can play the game forwards.
Yeah, I think the issue is everyone on the edge has to sort of eliminate 2 of the teams next to them. Expendables is in such a good spot in the middle. They can sort of play third party. They can try to pick off kills as often as they want. And a lot of people are going to be fighting for the north side of this map where there's a bit of a ridge line. Meanwhile, you see teams dropping one after another because we have hit a position where it's very Erangel in its construction. There's just not a lot of cover options.
No, not too much at all, and the majority of them have been taken. There's still the hillside that Falcons would like to play, but Type is kind of
до сих пор живые. Вдвоем в той ямочке. Но что они будут делать дальше? Интересно. У них транспорт весь разбит. А, велик есть. Кто-то один уедет.
Nice bounce. They go over the top of the box. There it is. Furia gets double tapped. Nice double grenade coming out from JDG. Can they capitalize on it as now poses down?
Пацаны, у вас БРДМ, заедьте там, я не знаю. В итоге от фура один остался челик. Грустная ситуация. Сидит поднимать за зоной, алло, ты, он сдохнет от зоны. Только если за зонки нету. Рюкзака. Опять! Опять! Где чат?
West side, but we'll keep an eye on that later as the Kraken still driving around in the BRDM looking for an opportunity.
А у них опять зависон. В чате пишут FF. Классно.
For an angle. Nice. As Cole does take down Show. Orca finds H-Man had a Panzerfaust in hand as well. I wonder if it was going to come into play, but not to be the case at all. Navi was kind of dying off during all of this as well here, but Shrimzy's still looking for something wherever he can. Duck Juice does hit him. He gets to go around the corner here. Shrimzy does find Duck Juice straight away on all of this. Tries to go for flushes wherever he can, getting a few more points.
Мы пропустили момент, как двое Нави сдохли. Было... Что такое? Я ничего не делал. Стрим перезапустился, 13 секунд. Идет стрим. Мы пропустили момент, где прибили двоих Нави. Там 11 остался, бедолага.
That was spectacular from Shrimzy. What a play. Taking down a former world... Spectacular from Shrimzy. What a play. Taking down a former world champion quite like that. And he's going to be able to get reses off in that compound as well. What an insane crash into fight, into reses. At the same time, T1 dispatches, basically, of Na'Vi, who has nothing to say about it. Tego is our domain, says T1.
Второй зависон за одну катку.
T1 used that Expendables Falcons kerfuffle because the Expendables were watching them out of the north side of that compound, and when they had to fall back to three-man defend against that Falcons push, T1 was able to close that gap. Falcons is going to get back up to 3 strong here after what was a very difficult fight, but there's nowhere for them to really lock in except that one last building on the north of their compound. Huge! Oh my gosh! Huge drop for T1. They just got a care kerfuffle. All of the care packages.
Общий рейтинг чего? На турнире вон они на 7-м месте, 18 очков. Или ты о чем? Или ты имеешь в виду среди всех команд киберспортивных, типа на каком месте по... Ну там... На каком месте Нави среди всех команд? Если так, то я не в курсе вообще. Если такое, если есть, то где?
Never shall a whale fight with a shrimp because the little one wins, or so it seems. Nice gonna go throw some grenades, a few lethal coming out at FW. That's a good Molotov to try to make sure they can't push around that right side. DNF playing very aggressively. They need to eliminate FW so they can turn their sights on T1. Being in that sandwich for DNF is almost impossible to deal with right now.
Так, тут получается что? Фальконы... Зона идет, они не в зоне, там у них манекен-гарчик в зоне, но тут у них один Гена. Из всех позиций, наверное, самый лучший... О боже, видали, как он кинул молик? Он хотел кинуть внутрь, он попал над дверью. Короче, у Т1 и ДНФ самая хорошая позиция.
30 meters to where DNF is here from where he is, so let's see if that hits.
There's the mortar coming in. It looks like he's playing a little bit of golf, trying to make a move here. If he landed in that spot, ooh, inching.
I think he was on the very shortest range, like 121 as the shortest range on the mortar. I think that's what he might have committed to there. But yeah, didn't quite.
Ну блин, ну у этого гены орка дробовик, он может спокойно разделаться. А, все уже. Все. Это уже хана. Еще и Т1 прибил.
Nice.
Falcons look like some yachts out there in the middle of the ocean, desperately hoping to find the orca that's looking to kill them, and it's ultimately Rainings that saves them.
Т1 позанимали уже зону.
DNF still locked in this hole as Heather holds them in
Даже не
place,
знаю.
and that is outside the circle.
И Фальконы дойдут, я думаю. Дыма у них достаточно, и ДНФ тоже пройдут, проедут.
The only team that has the position inside right now.
Really impressive stuff by FW as well overall in this game to get 11 kills. They started that off with dismantling the arena, and they've been in a war ever since. All the way down to Banana 1 now. Everybody's shooting at that full wall shield. You've got no cover to work with. You're eventually going to have to peek one side of that tree, my friend, because you've got DNF as well as Falcons looking at you. But it's been a valiant effort from them. 11 kills, that's a great game.
That's a massive wake-up game for them as they go ahead and move up that rank. Also, I love what he's doing. He's just going to lay there. He's like, you know what? If I die to the blue, it is what it is, but maybe I score
Пора дымы раскидывать как будто, не? Пристали же к этому ПВшнику.
Wait, I think I've played this simulator in the training grounds. That was a bot. Okay, so he is going to go down as FW Esports is eliminated, but you know what? What a game for
Они
them.
могут
11 kills.
Фальконы под дымами добежать до остановки, например. Там остановочка, может какой-то камушек есть. А, они накидали камушков себе, тем более. Т1 с ДНФами начали драться. Это шанс Фальконам пройти. И камушек есть хороший, даже очень хороший.
But T1 still has spectacular control, especially if they can put in the boot against DNF.
I love that Ibiza's legacy is a smoke line. And going to try to find an angle here from the top of the rock, right? But he did it so well. Meanwhile, there's the knock. Kickstart's going to get knocked by Heaven as DNF is watching that smoke like hawks. T1 getting human down puts them in just an incredibly strong position here that I don't know how you counter this.
I don't know either. It's going to be difficult. Still, they're looking that way. For me, it feels like Falcons and DNF are fighting for second place unless something magical can happen from Falcons on that south side. They already take down Heaven, but the end is the one to actually get the knock. I don't think there's any angle.
Ну, Т1 все еще в зоне. Сейчас с этим ДНФом разобрались. И он, смотри, там Энд, Рейнинг, все, у них там куча, короче, камней. А у Фальконов в зоне что? Только остановка. А втроем за одной остановкой не посидишь.
And they are really converting on the back of that previous Erangel.
That push by Type is wild. They've got more smokes to try to get to him. He knew that's the rock they wanted, and he went there first. He sent the car and said, I can molly your smokes. Good luck running through smoke when you're on fire! And he opens up with the right side.
Опять тут Т1 вплотную подъехал к этому камушку, который могли занять Фальконы. Это было очень нагло, как по мне.
Gosh, what a convert on our first ever hugely impactful map choice.
Ну,
by a team winning out
понятно.
the previous game.
Значит, пока перерыв у них, отойдут ложи минуты на 3.
They knew that they are good on Tego. They knew they don't have any hot drop scenarios having to deal with, and from there they get a back-to-back. I wouldn't be surprised if we go here again, Toffees, because they looked really good on Tego.
There was no discussion. Type didn't look back at his teammates. He grabbed the flag, put his jacket on, and they're all walking like they just know. This screams Tego, and I think it's time for everyone to dance as they place the flag, turn around. You can see the two that are, there's some knockdown there, but they're going to go ahead and grab it, and they say, time Tego.
That's like first ever back-to-back Tegos in proper international play as well, because of the way in which that they know they do not have true strong rivals in a hot drop scenario, and then they can control it in a masterful way. I'm kind of blown away by the developments that we're having here right now.
It was awesome, and honestly, the way that they played that end game, I mean, at some point, I think we pulled Michael back in here to give us a perspective, because it felt like that push to the rock to predict the win condition that the Falcons needed was really bold, but also just such a good decision.
Yeah, I mean, they had a man advantage, right? They knew that they had terrain advantage overall. They knew that they could afford some kind of risks like that. Why not take it? Why not be the opportunistic players and team that you need to be able to shut down a team like Falcons? Great stuff from game number 3.
All right, so as we bring back Michael and Matchroom, I'm going to open with Michael now that we've finally got you back on the mic, my brother. That was a great play for the push, but it seems like that's a really hard, bold call to make. What is a strong decision like that like for you when you're in a game? Is it hard to make that kind of bold, send one and hope for the best situation?
Yeah, I mean, Type is the player on T1 that he's just like their power player. He does all their big plays, and if he's feeling it, I have Snakers on my team, and he's that guy on my team. If he's feeling it and he wants to run across the whole zone and completely deny Falcons any entry, you let him do it, because he's literally going to wipe the whole team himself. Like, he just is that guy.
Very nice. Is it so you have one of those guys on your team? Is there a modicum of like, is it hard to trust them, or have they built themselves to a position where when they say I've got an idea, you just buy into it?
It's definitely hard, because like, I mean, like I said, I have Snakers on my team. He has so much international experience, and that guy doesn't die for free. If he thinks he can get away with it, like it's a reckless Hail Mary type play, but it's also like, you have the experience, so I'm going to trust that you're going to do it. The only problem is T1 didn't do it at PGC, so I don't know. This is a new slate for T1, and it looks like Type is feeling it. I think they are definitely the best team in the lobby right now so far today.
Catching it at the tail end of the highlights, we had a very interesting set. Michael and I were kind of talking about it. Erangel was very early scraps for several squads, but then whenever we switched over to this map on Tego, we don't know if it's the hillside cover or if it's just an evolution of meta or if it's just the way that the circle's set. It was so much slower. It led to a circle 3 pop-off, most notably whenever we had the southwest shrink that came into effect, and then the death funnel on the sides that just made these hillsides absolutely explosives. T1 just racking up so much on this Claris.
Yeah, it's not lost on me that the two teams wrapping in from the north side and going west, the Falcons, extremely late west, mind you, are able to kind of win out on this kinds of circles, right? 20 points going the way of T1. I think it's a really cool dynamic. Obviously, we've never played with, right? This kind of map selection thing. And if you have something that I'm going to admit was very easily identifiable by me, because, you know, obviously of the 3 hot drop scenarios on all the other 3 maps, of course T1 would want to go here, and of course if they can convert, they will go here again. And I think that's an awesome dynamic, which won't happen too often, because there's not actually that many hot drop scenarios we have across pro play at this international level. But for T1 to have this happen, I think it's like picture perfect.
Well, there's a meritable strength now that you get from victory. Sure, you get points, and that's always been a big factor that we've looked at whenever we talked about like how that propels you through the day and momentum. But now you have the capabilities, Toffees, to make your own momentum. You get to, off of a victory, kind of decide your own fate and really just lean into whatever works for you. This is a really intriguing premise that we're going to see continue to develop out. Like, the future impacts of this are kind of unparalleled, wouldn't you think?
So I think it's a good story. So Type, I think in that particular instance, was like, as you're talking about momentum, he created inertia for this team, right? He tied him to his ankles and said, I'm dragging you into this end game, and forced it. That said, I think it's 2 stories of strategy when you talk about first place and second place from that as they stand right now. T1 picked a good spot in the middle, they defended it, and they didn't have to work that hard to bring in that excessive amount of kills. By the contrary, Falcons hustled that entire game. Huge outside rotations, big crashes, and they barely got anything out of it except 6 points.
Back to Korea for their map choice once again. Guys, buckle up. It has been explosive here today. We are ready. Once again, the TPP plane is up in the air. It's time to Tego once again.
Question from me for a second Tego is, who is that adorable thumb that's there live in South Korea? Well, there he is. It's paper thin. That's who it is. That adorable man. He's ready to go. He's loving the fact that T1 is blasting out of control. He's been singing their praises in TPP. He's been saying, these guys are going to be the best. I don't think he has that accent, but, you know, he's been saying that to us.
That was a good American accent. Right. It was a good American.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I think you might be right, and I think to kind of double back to what we said there is T1 has a good understanding of how to hold position in TPP, and so while we saw Falcons hustle beyond measure, they only walked away with 6 kills, and they had to fight their way through the expendables, and what was as close to a first-person perspective fight as you're going to get inside of that house. And then on top of that, then they had to try to dig their way out. So I do think that really outlines the value of proactivity on those early rotations. Be the team that's in a spot and can steal some kills versus the team that is going to have to fight tooth and nail and maybe still only walk away with 4 or 5.
Yeah, there's going to be, as we get into game number 4 here, Tego once again chosen by T1, who is currently in number 1. I think that there's going to be some getting used to on which perspective to be in when you're in a compound breach or a compound high-intensity scenario. Because in a lot of those situations, if people are running around, heads loose and everything like that in those compounds, straight into FPP and being in FPP in some of those moments is like way quicker than you just trying to be in TPP, trying to find someone around a corner, and then switching into FPP. And I think that's exactly what Shrimzy did to a T perfectly, because they've been kind of on that learning curve for a little while now, trying to figure out exactly how to do that. So we're going to probably see more of that from these teams eventually.
So as we talk about them, yeah, so we're going to get Michael back here, and I will say, this is the West stream. This is the English stream. We're trying to talk about some of our Western teams a little bit more. So, Michael, I think you kind of have been watching the Falcons. We got a little bit of a breakdown on them earlier in the first game. Where are we at on them now?
Yeah, so I was watching the map stream from Falcons all game, and for the first 4 zones, they really prioritized keeping 4 alive. They barely even entered the zone for the 4 zones.
Что-то ты один, нифига себе вырвались, 44 поинта. А эти дурные лезут, ТЕ, вообще без хилов, без обвесов, без прицелов, глянь, куда они, ай-яй-яй. Погнались за машиной, голый калаш, и сдохли. Каспальканы взорвут чипики, как обычно.
They have the superstar power of at least 3 of their players that Shrimzy just pops off and wins them a fight against TE, one of the best team fighting teams in the lobby. And it was really, really good macro. I think they're going to be in a lot of the late games today.
You know, I think this again just outlines what we talked about with TE. I don't think they were ready for this perspective swap, and it seems like the Falcons have essentially become some kryptonite for them. 2 games in a row now, just running up on good old-fashioned first-person crashes and getting dismantled because of it.
Нормально, с корылькой, берстемка.
Wow, we will see now. It's a very different circle, and it looks like anyone's legend realizes that. We are going to the Northwest Island for them, and they are going rapidly, rapido, all the way to the top. Now, the problem for everybody else in this lobby is that once again, with T1 not being unchallenged in Yongchong, this is a good circle for them. If we get a back-to-back-to-back to start off PPMI from T1, that's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, a back-to-back, but they're picking the map, so it is very, very possible to do it, especially with how difficult this rotation is. Now, I will say T1 chose the map.
Привет, BMW.
They were really great with how the circle shifted for them in game number 1. It is not the same story here in game 2. They do have a good spot to loot. They tend to stay there a little bit longer, though, and I worry that they're going to get leapfrogged because they got the circle drop on their loot. I think we're going to see a couple of teams rotate past them, Twisted Minds, and maybe a few others, and get to those pole positions on the hilltop before they do. And for me, that's where this map is the most dangerous. If you are pushing out of our coastal cities, going up that mountain right there in the middle of the North Island, it is almost impossible in third person to know what's waiting for you because there are just so many crests all the way up.
I think you're right on the money. It is... Those hillsides can inhabit a lot of teams, and it will become very volatile holding down a spot up there because there's so many people around if this comes to fruition. JDG, we did not once again have Fury go and challenge that spot, so they're getting
Spaceman с тиммейтом как будто хотят их встретить, поехать.
Another E-pickup, Bagopar, where are we coming in from? Almost exactly the same trajectory that anyone's legend had, so... but there's still a lot of room in the circle to drop on, so you're not really suspecting anybody to be dropping on exactly the same spots just yet.
Yeah, this is the ultimate time for an E pickup because it's such a north shift. When the shift happened, there were only 2 teams that were actually in it, and both of them were on the borders. So if you've got that E pickup ready to go from the bottom, it's just a significantly better.
Сколько уже лет этот баг существует? Никак не исправят. Когда у этого большого автобуса
I do like that the Bagopar is up in the air making that transition very, very quickly. The rest of our teams are in cars hauling. Navi, you can see him right now, sort of parallel rotating with JDG, both teams spotting each other out. Again, change to TPP, one of the biggest transitional flashpoints we're going to have in terms of strategy is the amount of vision that you get during these rotations, during these transitions. In the old days, it was a first-person look out the window. Maybe hope you've upgraded to one of the cars with a sunroof, right? So you can look up in the sky while you drive. Now, you have as much visual as you want. So we saw that with that JDG rotation. Both teams using the perspective to go, oh, another team parallel rotating us. We can avoid that. So I do think the era of drive-bys will sort of
О, еще когда кто-то бегает и бьет воздух тоже.
It's also different to drive
из раздела лишних телодвижений. Визуальный выпендрёж.
Obviously, these players have got very used to driving the way that they normally do throughout the years. But in TPP, when you start driving around and suddenly you're like, okay, yeah, I'm used to remembering that this dip is here, etc., and things like that, and how I'm going to control the car. Like small micro movements of the car from inside the cockpit. I mean, technically, if you really want to go back to that, you could just switch into first person and start driving around again. But it's definitely a different feel.
You know, driving has long been my favorite minigame in PUBG, and I think that this is just more fun ways for me to explore the map and have a good time. Clories has chosen the Fiery Inferno to go ahead and possibly set up a trap here, as they show us exactly how one can utilize perspective to execute a cannon. That is really probably the biggest benefit here, is that you have plenty of time to get your guns out, set yourself up, and you know where your opponents are rotating from. The expendables, as the fights have not been working in their favor, it seems like camping may be their fallback position.
Yeah, it makes bridges all the scarier, which thankfully for a lot of these teams, right, there's a lot of bridges on Tego, so it shouldn't be too impactful unless you get quite unlucky.
И тут БРДМ проезжает, а там ТЕшник, и что вы будете делать? Валят ТЕшника, фальконы. Тут еще БРДМ свазит. Ой, все, это хана. Остался ТЕшник один наверху. Что он будет делать? Неизвестно. Не стреляй, зачем тебе это надо? Просто снизу живи. Куча челиков теперь потеряет главный аргумент, что ППП лучше, потому что киберспорт турниры ППП. Ну да. Можно сказать, что эти умники теперь тупники.
Yep, yes they do. It's so funny, like, I mean, as much as the arena just wanted to mad dash through this hill, like, the fact that, oh, well, okay, that was a really good grenade.
Идеальная гранатка, но там БРД.
Yeah, very well done. It's Falcons was just playing the more cautious game to say, okay, well, is anybody camping on this bridge? Oh,
да нет, фанаты, они все равно будут дальше кукарекать.
Try and make that effort, so.
I mean, I think it kind of goes further. I am under the opinion, and maybe we can send Mark to find this out, that they saw E-Arena making the rotation. They knew that TE was camping, and they held that shot until it would expose them to have E-Arena do their dirty work for them. Both teams end up limping out, and the Falcons now make that cross completely uncontested as H1 goes over.
Yeah, very nicely timed.
Так, ну в итоге ТЕшник выжил. Я и Фальконы проезжают, значит ТЕшник может в теории спуститься, забрать чипик и пойти вернуть тиммейтика. Давай, делай, пора.
Cloris is doing some jumping. He's jumping around that tractor. He's jumping around that barren. Nothing's going on. I think Cloris, it's time to.
У многих нет своего мнения, а если прошлых не ТПП, то я не за ним пойду. О, но то, что у многих нет своего мнения, это прям в точку. И причем во всех моментах в жизни. И в играх, и в жизни, и в политике, и где хочешь. Есть кто-то влиятельный, кто-то крупный, главный, и т.д. и т.п. И как он сказал, так все и думают. Поэтому тут ты прав. Если сейчас киберспортсмены скажут, о, теперь киберспорт ТПП, играем ТПП, на стримах будут ТПП чаще играть, там как-то больше будет контент в ТПП, то и те челики тоже скажут, о, в принципе, да, ТПП норм, пошли ТПП.
Look like they are going to transition past Furia and allow these two to get away with survival, but for what, like at what cost? Like neither Genji or Furia are in a position to convert this into any kind of entry into the map.
ТЕшника жалко. Ну что ты там, забрал чипик? Будешь возвращать или нет? Вроде бы вот этот вот, где один челик сидел на мосту сверху, другой снизу. Нижнего прибили. Но вот я не знаю, чипик забирали или нет. Там сразу фальконы подъехали, как будто чипик и не забирал никто. Скорее всего.
And they're taking more casualties, but Twisted Minds is creeping on up.
Twisted Minds, I love this. I love the quiet Twisted Minds push. Anyone's Legend has been the exact opposite of Twisted Minds. If Twisted Minds is a team that is defined by their communication skills, Anyone's Legend has, in this event so far, been defined by their throw it against the wall and hope it sticks.
Mm-hmm. And they're all in one car.
They are. They're all in one car. They're all in one pub.
Well, we'll see if they can do anything with it. They are still moving about and seeing what their direction is going to be. All of them on one spot, though, coming in on a car like this, does kind of signify the fact that they're not really that confident holding out on like a 2-2 and being able to communicate via that position.
What if this is just 20D chess, though? They drove it in one car knowing that no one would think that they were in one car, right? They're like,
okay,
where's the rest of the team? That's just their scout. And then there's 4 of them. It's like a
Yeah.
Anyone's Legend, 6 billion IQ.
I like the 4 cars of Gen Z
Опа-на,
right
дропчики.
now. You know, the only 13 points. You know, I'll take the 4 cars.
I will too, but I want some Anyone's Legend copium. I mean, this is a roster that looks like so much fun on paper, and has just been about as much fun as a turtleneck on paper.
ТЕшник вернул своего на водичке, хороший, еще нашел
What you
шарик.
just did there, that was awesome. More of that, please. Paper Thin is going to hate us, but that's fine.
Так, на USDT.
He can't hear us. He's running around doing interesting things on site.
Oh, he can. He called me something funny for my first turtleneck thing. He can hear us.
I look forward to the DM. Hackatory, this guy's
тут
like, I
справа
don't
в
care
упоре
about
подходит, что не
I'm
слышишь?
just here to fight.
Наверное,
As he
услышал.
goes to the top of that hill, puts in
Минут
some work and
Сьюзи.
hits the nade. That's the Hackatory way.
Yes, it is. Still a little bit of aggression potentially coming in against this. Flashes forwards against the position here of JDG, trying to slow them down on anything that they would want to do.
Давай.
But
Кидаешь нормальные гранаты надо.
See if you can get a little bit of damage with it. Meanwhile, Kickstart
И куда?
trying to do some more damage against the position.
Ну,
Wing is now
начался
down.
файт Нави и
Confirmed here by
GDG. О,
Shrimzy.
вернули камеру.
Back up
Спасибо.
Navi. See what they're going to be able to do against JDG.
Давайте мы
But
уже досмотрим
these
этот
fights
моментик, что
will
произойдет
result in a
дальше.
lot of times in nades thrown.
Нокнутого
we've got
GDG
more nades.
подняли,
Okay, back off,
получается.
because we don't want to peek you across
А
these
нет,
kind of hillsides.
добили. Плюс 100 баксов в карман Хакатори.
More, I think, in TPP than we saw. It was in both, but we're going to see more. Is the idea that nades and utility to a certain extent is going to be used for exclusionary tactics, right? You're going to nade a couple of spots, and if you get a knock, cool. But if not, you go, all right, I know for a fact that that team is not in this berm, or that I can start to run a flank around the right side.
Потому что
You
куча
don't have the
бугров,
general
это вот.
ability to sort of like hold a peek and see if their little heads pop up. So
Куча
using
бугров,
those
ямочек,
utilities,
камушков.
using those lethals to sort of zone people
И
into a
спать
position
охота.
where you know where they are and can work around them, I think is going to become something that is very effective, and especially in these high hill fights.
Yeah, some decent corral measures against some of these teams could work on out. And for other teams trying to come in a little bit later, I'm curious to see what they're going to do. You can see the entry line, actually, as we take a look for someone like Twisted Minds. They want to check that compound and maybe enter on that far north side. Petrichor Road is now going down here by the looks of things. They are so stuck. And yes, Pio will finish all of that off. But one thing I'm...
Color me shocked. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're... I don't know why. They're in the doldrums, unfortunately. But one thing I want to know here, Toffees, is how T1 approaches this, because they've looked so good, but now they're playing extreme edge, and they're going to have to come in on the east side. But if they are as proficient at TPP as some are thinking, they should... We'll see you. If
Опять
it's
перо
going to be a
сдохли.
masterclass or a flop.
Блин, прикиньте, какой там тильт конкретный. Четвертая катка подряд, ни хрена не получается. Все, это, если бы мы играли, не знаю, там какие-то ранги, ну, если сравнивать, например, этот турик с рангами, то это, наверное, ранги и у всех четверых выживший. И 4 катки подряд слить. Опа. А, Сетрикс. Ну это да. Жаба. Блин, я думал, ты вечером скинешь. Вечером было бы в тему. Тогда еще раз вечером скинешь. Сетрикс, спасибо большое за вклад в челлендж. Спасибо за $25. Отмучился, выполнил. Теперь можно отдыхать. Спасибо, Сетрикс. Спасибо. Не, фанат, у них условия там, ну, призовой фонд по местам. Призовой фонд по местам там какой-то там есть. Но там еще условия дополнительные. Каждый килл в катке $100. Каждому, кто делает килл, $100. Дальше. Топ-1 в каждой катке $1000. Ну, кто топ-1 взял, тот $1000 получает на команду плюс еще. И кто заканчивает день на первом месте по очкам, тому $5000. Вот такие вот там еще такие микрочелленджи. Когда год на девятках. Когда предложат $1002, тогда год на девятках. И хорошего доктора какого-то, который потом меня вылечит. Личного.
Coming in from the same angles. JDG, I've been concerned about their control of some of these ridge
А
lines.
чего вылечит? Я уже не знаю, к чему приведет этот год на девятках. Там уже решим. Просто челлендж почти весь был на девятках. Ну, там так получалось, да. ППшек куча валяется. Я проснулся, блин, когда в 7 утра. Играли с Джеком вчера до часу ночи, потом я еще посидел час-полтора на ютубчике, потом в 7 проснулся. Что-то не спалось. Поиграл в Ведьмака до 11. Думал, да, на часик заскочу и потом еще посплю пару часиков. И в итоге так, как меня это затянуло, что 4 часа. Ну, не жадно взяли соточки и ушли. Нормально. Ну, Сетрикс, сейчас мы, это 4-я катка, после этого еще одна, и я пошел отдыхать. А вечерний стрим часиков, наверное, в 7-8 начинается.
Action. Raining is currently knocked. The end gets Gumin, and it never ends from T1. But Duck Juice is also causing some problems here. So T1 is really on the back foot now.
T1's on the back foot, and they've run up against a team that seems to understand 3P a little bit better. Freaks have been on a tear since they started here today, and they're putting up a much better defense.
Видите, он дергается. Для любого противника в прицеле он на одном месте. Зачем это все? Не, самое жадное это перо. Ну да. А мне их жалко. Ну ты ржешь, а мне обидно. Я просто ставлю их, себя на их место. И, ну, если бы мы участвовали бы в этом турнире, то перо это были бы мы. Мы бы грустили.
Good stuff by them so far. Where are they? They're in 5th place here. FW. Great start from them for the tournament.
FW got that slow burn going right now as they sit in the middle spot. DNF finally in a chance to make a little more climb, but they're outside the circle.
Хотя вот представить, да, там нашу пачку в этом турнире, именно вот ТПП турнире, наша пачка в этом же турнире с этими же всеми командами. Ну, вряд ли мы были по последнем месте. Вот я думаю, что мы хорошо показали бы себя.
Deal low and slow as he grinds his way through the grass over on the left side.
I don't like this freaks. I think they've been embroiled in too many fights. I don't think they have
Ну, по игре многих видно, что они теряются, они не знают, что делать. Третье лицо, другой геймплей, они все в первом играют. Вот, то есть на этой стадии, пока они не привыкшие, мы бы что-то сделали, мне кажется.
Can he do a little bit more? He's so low. He's the remaining member. Nades go forwards if that connects. If that connects. Oh, okay. If a little bit cooked.
А вот, конечно, через несколько турниров ситуация поменяется.
He's still a force to be reckoned with. Meanwhile, the Expendables, who've not had a lot to work with, DuckJuice says, you know what? I see a chance to get some points. Let me go make some money.
Yummy, yummy, yummy.
А чё Нави? Нави дохлый вижу, валяется один.
Когда
успел?
As well as Kraken knocks, double knocks. Can he get more? If he knocks Poser here, what an unbelievably heroic play this is from DuckJuice. Throws more forwards. I don't think he knows that kind of reposition has gone down. Goes for the flushes. They're gone anyway. Park Pro finishes it, but he gets the 2. He gets the 3. That's insane from DuckJuice.
DuckJuice, who was a non-factor, walks in, gets $300, and actively pins Salute, the last member of DNF, in the blue, so he dies to that as well to not give up the extra points. So DuckJuice, despite Expendables having trouble, gets a 4-point, essentially, swing in his team's direction and a nice little cash dump for sticking with it. So great on him. Good attack plan to come in there and say, I got to get something out of this, and taking that risk.
Так, Нави, вам надо БГПшников
start of this game, an unbelievably great swing from DuckJuice. Good stuff. Nade goes forwards to confirm Shen. He's gone. Jacob with the MK14
Уже 3 часа дня, офигеть.
Okay, let's see. Well, actually, I said, can Hakatori do something here though? Is the question against Long.
Попадет.
Trying to pick away at that door.
Звідки гранат, вспомните, древние аптеки. Ну, они друг друга обмочат и лутают. Ну и вообще, в принципе, к финальным стадиям игры здесь не так патроны нужны, как аптеки, дымы и гранаты. И когда они друг друга прибивают, то именно это в первую очередь они и набирают.
This is not the game where we're going to
come. Да, там, я не знаю, буквально ты одного прибьешь, у него залутаешь. 5 дымов, 5 гранат, 5 аптек.
So there are spots if you want to make a hard send right now.
Yes, there are. Still a few ridge lines here and there. Solos like Longs are not going to be able to guard them out, that's for sure.
Они еще по багажникам любят позапихивать. Тоже все эти раскиды. Хакатори, ну что ты не попал ни разу?
I feel like Longs is not Longs for this world. As he should be gone out.
О, зазоночка пошла.
Is that a double blue?
Пошла зазоночка. 2 даже зазоночки. Он думает перехилить, но он не знает, что там их 2. Хана.
Respectable.
Yep.
БГПшника одного завалили. Нави это должны понимать, идти добивать БГПшника. Но они не идут.
Still, it's just the 2 of them, and they have worked so hard to make it up this ridge line, as they are very close to actively getting a spot in the circle. To be one of only 3 teams to do so. The problem is Megapod has been paralleling the entire time. Neither of them, I think, are fully aware that DuckJuice is just waiting to cause some trouble.
When we're shutting down DuckJuice, he's been an absolute menace, that's for sure.
Хорошая. Все, это поднимать никто не будет его. Это... А, Мицумка там или что? Да, ему пофиг. Который пофиг на ваши Мицумки и так далее. Плюс 200 баксов. Тут, короче, бабки фармит один Хакатори. А остальные так потом. Дай на чай, скажу ты ему. А что-то ешник, он решил... 5 аптек, он решил поинт не отдать, получается.
The guy just gets kills. It's what he does. It's impressive to watch.
Yeah, Hakatori is normally at 4 PP. He's just, you know, playing his own different version of the game. And that's fine. That's fine.
Или сейчас опять будет ситуация, когда один в спину Нави прибьет всех.
DuckJuice, the lone survivor, I will say, If there is an award for like the Survivor Award in this game, if we can give it to somebody who just survived against all odds so far and has put extra points on the board, this is an epic performance by DuckJuice.
Yes, it is. I mean, this is already great salvage, right? So keep those heals going. He's only got the med kit.
До трупика он добежит, но следующую аптеку, наверное, уже схавать не успеет.
So he will get this pop.
А, это большая аптека была, значит, успеет. Еще плюс 7 аптек. Вот, вижу БМВ, в чем дело. Он подошел к типу прибитому, плюс 7 аптек взял. Сейчас взял молик точно, и вроде бы гранаты, не? Но молик точно появился. Да ну нафиг, опять! Опять повторяется ситуация, когда в спину заходят к Нави. Почему именно Нави так не прет? Тут 1 секунда может зарешать. Успел, он взял еще аптек. Это шок. Нави, он даже не думает, что кто-то может быть в спине. Вообще даже никаких не может быть намеков, ничего. Единственное, что твисты могут увидеть его. А, не, FW клан, команда FW там может увидеть. Ну покажите за зоной, типа, вы полчаса показывали его. И в итоге что? Да покажите. И... Ну, поверни камеру левее, левее. Сказал все аптеки уже. Ну, Хакатори он забрал хотя бы что-то. Я не знаю, я ни за кем еще такого не замечал, чтобы так часто и много раз заходили... Ой, хорошо. Чтобы заходили в спину какой-то одной команде. Какой-то один чел, который хавает 58 аптек и заходит в спину и прибивает.
They've been in the center of these circles for this whole game.
They're a placement team, Kylaris. They're a placement team.
Well, it's working out so far. 31 points go their way. 6x finds neurons as well. That's the second kill down there as well. The problem for FW now is, though, they face...
Ну ничего, пока нормально держится. 30 поинтов, 5-е место. Может быть, сейчас сдвинуться на 6-е, ну, нормально. Хотя бы не в конце.
They like that.
Yeah, they like that a lot. Me likey. Especially with a substitute, okay? I love Molodok, but not having your core can be a little disgruntling. And example, he's got a lynx. That's a lynx, friend.
Uh-oh.
Ruh-roh.
Yep.
Yep. He's like, all right, I'll be the high ground. You guys go do things.
Yes. All right, let's see. What can they do? Because that lynx will rip away any potential advantages you have. And they're already at a disadvantage, 4v3 right now. Looking for an opportunity. I think if you're FW, I think you've got to make a sneaky play here. A la a T1 on Erangel. Try and find yourself a little crawl space. Find yourself a little cheeky angle and see what you can do. But the problem is that Lou is up to the north side. Sick or not, Lou is still going to be able to take you out. Batulins is on that south side, trying to keep his eyes on where 6x may be.
I mean, bless you, FW, for trying, but they're literally facing off against a team with the best win ratio in the Final Four in PUBG.
Терпит, как ты терпишь, я бы уже стрелял.
And you know you're 4-3, it's going to force you to want to play passive.
That
said, 6x does get a nice beat, using the rock to his advantage. Example sees it and goes, all right, I got a plan. It starts his outside rotation. Rye's going to go ahead and throw some grenades out and try to lock up his spot, but they do have the one advantage that Banana 1 has been able to move closer to center than Twisted Minds currently is. I don't know if that's enough, though, because the flank by 6x is going to end soon.
That had to capitalize on Batulin's knock, and it didn't. And because of that now, I think that, yes, okay, technically, FW has wrestled a little bit more room away from Twisted Minds, because Twisted Minds has contracted back into themselves a little bit here. But that is just reinforcement from Twisted Minds to make sure, okay, we're not going to give you another 1v1 like that. Your opportunity is gone. Regardless of how much you try and control this, with just 3 men alive.
I love the way that they're playing
Долго,
this is something that
пока не будет зоны точки.
As TPP continues to progress. This idea of sort of a chess game at the end, when you get down to 2 teams, using the ridge line, letting the circle close, and sort of making their choices on the fly as we see the map develop. And that's where we've seen a lot of these end games, James, where we're seeing like teams push all the way to the left, take a couple of shots, and then hyper rotate all the way back to the other side of the circle. Because in this one, information just becomes absolutely paramount. We can see us creeping cars for scouting purposes. You hop in the car to get a little bit of a higher view, then jump back out and see if you can reset yourself.
And FW will have seen the links
О,
in
наконец-то,
someone's
занул
hands
точку.
there, as they've had a little peeks over here and there. They've seen what's going on. If they've not heard any shots, because I don't think there was a shot just yet. I still think he has this normal amount of ammo in it. But regardless of that fact, if they know it, you do not want to be peeking that. You've got to bide your time here. Try and slowly control the center, or at least as much as possible, and then see if, when the circle does bear down, if angles present themselves to you. They know where Lou is. You just saw the nade go straight towards his tree. They know where he is. Oh, a shot there.
Я думал, сейчас он за зону бежит. Зачем-то.
Is playing this incredibly careful, incredibly measured. FW has managed to get more players towards the center position, though, so I have to give him props on that forward slide.
More smokes. We'll see who has the most smokes, though. Still 4 in the hands of Example. He has already shot a shot, as you can see here on the link, so they do know that it's in play, regardless of if they've seen it or not. And he sees him jumping on the backside of that as well, so just takes a second, and he will try and go for that hit wherever he can. Now everybody's going to come into vision from one another if those smokes do dissipate, because they can see across these hillsides. Ooh.
It's so hard to use the links in TPP, though, because you can't hold that sort of hard peak without them countering it. You can see he's having trouble as he gets
У каждого, смотрю, примерно по одной гранатке в запасе было под конец.
Example with a night grenade to try to lead it up over the top. 6x takes some damage from behind as the team pushes forward. He's going to go down to Batula's grenade. That makes it a 2v3. Twisted Mind should use this as a trigger to push up over to the top of the hill. They'll send the lethal, and they will follow.
Все правильно делают фулкой против двоих, потому что эти ноки надо делать что-то.
Over the top of the mountain. FW is going to hunker down inside of the smoke, but they are now being surrounded by Twisted Minds.
They've got no answer to this. They've got absolutely no answer. Everybody's going to be coming in from every single angle. He's lying down. Molodok can see him straight away, eagle eyes completely. And inside the smoke is the remaining member of FW. But what are you supposed to do against a 4 hungry Twisted Minds who will shut you down? Take a win here on Tego. And that means choice of map goes to them. I do wonder if we're going to Rondo here for Twisted Minds.
But Tulin throwing up the high five to get a fist bump in the middle.
Так, давайте кодик на 500 джекоинов. Пишите слово джекоин, быстро разыграю и отойду.
That's what I like to see. Lou is gonna run this like he's capturing it. Yes, wave that flag.
He's loving it. He is. He is loving it for sure. So again, they have some options, right? Rondo, of course, is an absolute spectacular map for them. When it comes to the points that they normally gain there. However, everyone loves a good Miramar. Where do you think we're going, Toffees?
They're going to go Rondo. They have to, and we're not going to see Miramar all day. That is wild.
That's crazy if we do.
That we get a non-Miramar day. Look at them. They're discussing it.
They're thinking.
Только не Мирамар, что?
40% plus on Rondo, right?
Oh my God, it's Rondo.
It's
Rondo. Тоже надоело уже.
Mate, I'm great at this.
That was not on my bingo card. I did not expect to see 0 Miramars. By far, the pros' consensus favorite map to play will not enter the fray today, as teams have definitely leaned to picking
Так, ладно, кодик получает.
And we know. You nailed it at PGC. Wasn't it like 44%
Надо,
win rate?
ну, это что-то твин, надо переиграть.
15.3 average
points
in group stage, and then
напиши мне в личку кодик твой. Все, я пока отошел.
So their point average on Rondo at PGC was unparalleled on any other map by any other team.
Well, let's bring in 2 guys unparalleled. We got Matchroom, and I think he might be bringing Michael with him. Coming back for the action.
Wait to see if we get Michael confirmed in. Oh, there we go. We got Michael in with it, as we did see the Expendables make that early push where they lost 3. But don't worry, Duck Juice stays alive, and he has an impact coming in a second. Speaking of impacts across this game, Michael, you were following Twisted pretty heavily in how they kind of navigated these circles. Like, kind of give us a breakdown on what you saw.
Yeah, I know it's the early game. They had 3 players playing into the zone while Battlelands stayed in the blue, looting apartment buildings. And I've played against Battlelands, and I know he does that to try and find BRDMs and flare guns. I noticed there's 1 left on the map to be used. He couldn't find it, and their side was really tough, so they made an insane rotation. to swap sides, and then Falcons lost 2 players where they just got gifted. So Falcons are gonna be really mad they threw that game away. After that, they had a free line into the late game, and when Twisted Minds are late game like that, you just expect them to win because they just are that good.
I mean, yeah.
Did you expect to see a Rondo today, Michael?
Hell no. I didn't think I was going to pick Rondo.
Well, like we said at the start, loves it. That was the only team, though. I think that's literally the only way we see a Rondo is if Twisted Minds wins a game. And even them, I'm pretty sure they were discussing it up to the last second of, like, do we do it or should we go to Miramar? So that was hilarious.
I think there's one other team that would have done it, and I think that would have been JDG, because it's the map that they do not have a hot drop on, right? And going over to their west side, I think it could have been easy for them to go, but I'm not actually expecting JDG wins unless it comes to them in this lobby, right? Like, yeah, they're not firing on all cylinders like they would in a PCL, where, again, I think they're playing like a more focused Chinese play style against the other Chinese teams, not exactly being able to flex that out into an international lobby.
That was an interesting game. So since we got Michael here, I do want to ask this. This is one of those challenging ones where when that shift goes north on Tego, it seems like it creates a really tough situation for a lot of our teams. What do you do with that? When you're a player, you find yourself in like that Gen G Furious situation where you're just behind that rotation. Is there a strategy that team like you call on, or how do you deal with, I guess, the mental of like a no-hope rotation?
Yeah. It kind of depends on your team's playstyle, because Furia was kind of in the same spot that Twist was, but Twist just decided to play for the win.
Let's check in real quick with Bella, and we'll come back to it.
This may be the day that you guys are getting another TPP title. And well, from your perspective, what is it about T1 that makes them so good at TPP then? 이제 T1의 소닉 감독님 이야기 인터뷰 만나보겠습니다. 감독님, 오늘 첫날 시작이 아주 좋습니다. 좀 TPP 우승 하나 더 거머쥘 수 있는 그러한 조짐이 조금은 보이는데 T1 TPP 왜 이렇게 강한가요?
일단 저희 선수들이 사실 좀 3인칭으로도 많이 연습을 했었고, 왜냐면 좀 저희가 많은 생존을 한 상황에서 좀 게임을 하는 걸 원하는데 너무 교전 위주다 보니까, 이제 FPP 같은 경우에는 교전 위주다 보니까 저희가 이제 TPP를 하면서 이제 중형적인 부분을 좀 많이 연습했던 게 저희가 TPP를 좀 잘할 수 있는 부분이지 않을까 싶습니다.
I mean, for T1, all the players on the team, they practice a lot with the TPP, and when it came to the original FPP, it was more about the comeback and the heads-on interactions, but now that it's turned into a third-person perspective, T1 definitely has the higher advantage with the longer durations because they prefer to play out their games that way. And when everyone thought that you guys were going to go for Miramar with your map selections, you surprised us with back-to-back Tagos. So I want to know, why is it that you guys wanted 2 Tagos in a row? 이제 그 다음 이제 승리를 하고 나서 맵을 고를 때 모두가 다 미라마를 선택할 거라고 예상을 했지만 연달아서 테이고를 선택하셨거든요. 그 이유가 뭔지 궁금합니다.
사실 제 입장에서는 미라마를 좀 고르고 싶었는데 네, 저희가 일단 사전에 얘기했을 때는 치킨을 먹는 맵을 다시 고르자 이거였는데 에란게를 못 골라서 랜드마크 싸움을 안 해도 되는 용천을 이제 고른 것 같고, 사실 미라마에서 4점 먹고 시작하면 좋은데 네, 못 먹고 시작해서 개인적으로는 좀 아쉽지만 2연치에서 좋습니다.
Well, I personally wanted to take Miramar, but you know, and the original game plan before we started out today was that we were gonna get the same map that we won our chicken, but we couldn't pick Erangel, and we thought that maybe with the landmark fights and all, Tego would be the better pick. And you know, it's kind of a bummer that we didn't get to pick Miramar right away with the 4 kills, but oh well, it played out to our favor. And well, I feel like today's going great, but we still have one match to go. Which team do you think is the biggest threat when it comes to collecting your next TPP title then? 오늘 시작은 좋지만 아직 끝나진 않았거든요. 그리고 이틀간의 여정이 더 남아 있는데 T1에게 가장 견제되는 팀 혹시 들어볼 수 있을까요?
현재까지 양상을 봤을 땐 딱히 견제되는 팀 없었습니다.
Well, I don't think any of the teams are challenged. All right, that is bold from Sonic, but best of luck to T1. And that's a wrap for the interview. 이렇게 T1의 소닉 감독님 만나봤습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Oh man, I love Sonic. he always brings in such great insights. Got a chance to sit down with him a ton of times, Michael. You and me are going to be kind of navigating this next stage. We're going to be looking at the leaderboards, how everything wrapped out inside that last game. Twisted Minds with 15 points up on top. Arena and Navi each getting 11 tied up with the Expendables, most notably off of Duck Juice, dude. Duck Juice just clutched such a big way there.
Yeah, I think now the Twisted Minds have their full roster, they're going to be gathering a lot of momentum. They have a perfect style, just like Falcons, just like T1, just to keep 4 alive and play for these late games. So I'm expecting them to be gathering a lot more points going through into the last game of the day.
So I was tracking that. Duck Juice was out inside the blue. He's almost dead, but then creeps up to 1 crate, finds 7 more meds, continues to creep through that, finds another crate with 4 more meds, and that gets him just into range to take some shots at Hackatory right after he got knocked, so finds another couple of kills. Just absolutely stellar game come up from them. But again, Twisted, such I don't know, like whenever we look at Twisted, it's always so intriguing because, you know, we talk about like Batu and the innovations that he's brought into IGLing and about how a lot of the other teams have picked that up. Like whenever we're now taking a look at the overall leaderboard with T1 up on top, have you kind of, like as a player, how has been your interactions with that, and how many other players look up to Batu's IGLing style?
Everyone. I've been countless VODs, countless twice. You just see him, you see Lou, because Lou also does a lot of the early game plays. He helps Batu co-IGL, so it's definitely a two-man operation. But yeah, I think everyone watches Twisted Minds. They've just been so dominant for so long. All of their Miramar Rock lineups, everyone's gone in the VODs and checked them. Like, if you're not watching them and you suck, you should watch them to not suck.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that were doing like translations on whenever we had like the cams that were following them, the player cams that can happen at different events. While we're sitting here, though, I do want to point out FW presently sitting in 5th place overall at 33 points, but we've got ourselves Mark Power with a quick interview before we get into our last game of the day.
Very quick, guys. Before the game starts, I got an answer to your question, Toffees. The Falcons did actually see TE, but they didn't see the rotation from Arena. So good timing from them, and they're able to pick up some additional calls. Everyone's running, everyone's getting ready. I'll throw it back to the studio before we get into the final game.
Well, the top 4 teams, currently T1 is standing at the top with 36.7%, and right behind them, second place, is DN Freaks with 32.2%. And guess what? We have Team Falcons and Navi at the same rank with 6.7%. So, well, we are getting our predictions before our 3rd match every day from here on out till the end of the event. So make sure to get your predictions in here at PUBG Sangsu, and hopefully you guys get to visit us here as well. All right, that is all, and see you next time.
All right, well, we are just waiting now for one more game on day number 1, of course, as Bella breaks down the percentage for the win. And of course, with Twisted Minds getting the win just prior, they have picked Rondo for our final battleground. Who would have thought that we have no Miramars on the day? I came in today thinking to myself, how quickly will we expend 2 Miramars? And it's all worked out for T1 as well as Twisted Minds on these choices here, as I am joined back with Toffees, if you see it.
I'm here. I mean, I think I'm with you. I genuinely thought it'd be game 1 Erangel, game 2, game 3 Miramar, and then whatever else anybody voted for. But this idea that teams are picking maps that are good for them opens a lot of doors. I think if this is a format that marches forward, this idea of hot dropping for compounds. I mean, so you remember the battle between Navi and 17 earlier this year to say, like, I deserve a middle spot. I find the fascinating potential of knock-on effects from this drafting system in terms of, like, are teams willing to hot drop because maybe you only get 1 map per day, or is it worth more because you know that when you win, you can force a map that's better for you. So I do think this creates, it's sort of opening the window to additional strategy to develop over time if it's something that continues. I don't know what the full format is for next year. I think a lot of us are on standby to see, like, is drafting part of it? And if it is, I'm kind of on board, James, because I am having a ball watching them make these decisions.
Yeah, be it like the avoiding of hot drops or even the intentional go for a hot drop if, say, for example, you're in a group stage, your team that you normally hot drop against is having a hard time in the groups, and it's one of the last games, and you win a previous one, you suddenly pick the one that you're normally hot dropping on, and you're suddenly making the power play against that team, right? Like where, like, oh, well, they either have to avoid you or potentially risk a very precarious position. So that could be an awesome kind of little dynamic that would go on there.
Twisted Minds and FW Esports in a bit of a side-by-side. 18 kills and 18 kills. I said that they were a placement team, but they are not seeming to be that way as we get to the end game here. Almost dead on with one of the best, if not the best teams. I guess I can't call them the best because they didn't win PGC, but I still feel that they are the best roster in the world. That's got to be pretty powerful for FW Esports to see that comparison.
Ушло.
Yeah, as you say, I would love to get kind of bend the ear of Batulins and see how Molodok is fitting into the team as a whole. Although that being said, if we ask the question and suddenly like, no, he's not fitting in at all. So like, cancel the interview.
I mean, it's almost like you'd have to say that, though, right? You don't want to go and be like, how's Molodok doing? He's like, better than Perfectix. So no matter how it goes, he's going to say he's a lovely sub to have. And he is a lovely sub. Molodok was incredible to watch at PGC as well as the rest of the year. But his ability to consistently put up numbers, show up on the damage end days, whether or not the rest of his team was thriving, was actually really, really impressive. Molodok, I was familiar with him going into the tail end of this year, but I am a very big fan after watching how he finished this one out.
Oh yeah, he's potentially devastating if you give him the tools, give him the time, give him the space, and alongside.
Я не понял, они, получается, сидят за компами, и перед ними чуть ниже сидят другие команды. Вон, левее, правее. То есть они могут там приподняться, посмотреть, где кто находится, да? Особенно если ты знаешь, там перед тобой, например, Нави сидят. И ты понимаешь, что по игре Нави живые, ты его приподнялся, посмотрел. Нормально. Я бы так делал.
They got 1 kill in the first game, 4 in the second, but then they got 11 in the third. So it was one game was the lion's share of where they got all of their kills at, and really is what kind of propelled them in the leaderboard. And it was kind of in that game where there was so much other stuff going on, we didn't get a chance to really dive into it, but whenever we look at match 4 records, you can see Hackatory just on that kill that he had, Michael, was just brutal. Even going up against the BRDM and just doesn't care.
Yeah, that's exactly why he's my captain.
Бумажками кидаться. Они уже там дают эти альбомные, эти А4 листы, и там у них не карты напечатаны. Скомкал, кинул в голову. Отвлек. Потом толкнул ногой, плюнул, подсмотрел.
But, you know, still a good choice. I think Tiggleton and the Falcons are doing better than I normally see them do on day one. But for me, this year has been a large part about Hackatory. This is a guy that we saw blaze onto the scene last year. When him and Diffx were together, they were this incredible 1-2 punch. Diffx departed. We thought, can Hackatory do it alone? And he has stepped up and proven to me that he is one of the best young talents, if not the best young talent in the entire world, right? But he put up against new players like Red Zone that are emerging.
Да начинайте уже катку, я спать хочу, поспать часика 2-3.
I kind of want to know what he's like to play against. I don't hear enough players telling me what it is like to deal with the poltergeist that is Hackatory.
Well, there you go, Michael. What's it like to be shot at by Hackatory? Please tell us about your PTSD.
I will tell you, over the years, there's some players, when they shoot you, it's like the bullets all hit you at one time, and like you're like, okay, he's just better than me. It's like, it's not like, oh, I could have done this better, I could have done this better, like whatever. Like sometimes you just fall over so fast, it's insane.
Uh-oh. Paper.
Играть с щитом там? Нет, конечно, они же сидят в ангаре вон все. Там и следят, и смотрят, со всех сторон смотрят, и компы не твои, и игра не твоя, все не твое. Только, может быть, клавиатуру, мышку можно принести свою, и то не факт.
Yeah. Hey, that's nice. Yeah, we should be happy with that. And just continue playing our game. We are playing with the substitute. He's doing very well. Yeah. Like, we are happy with what's going on. Okay, good. And real quick, next map. How are you feeling about that? You guys think you can go back to back?
Почему он всегда в шарфе?
Rondo. Rondo. Well, I mean, yeah, we picked Rondo, but like.
during PGC is the only map where we got points during the whole round final.
Я там пару турниров назад, когда смотрели, мы также сидели. Он и там был в шарфе. Я думал, ну может болеет человек. Может быть у него горло болит, он там это. Нет, он всегда в этом ходит. Всегда шарф у него. Он, наверное, и спит в нем, и моется в нем, и все остальное тоже делает в нем.
Batulins says Rondo is best man. All right, and Cloris, I gotta say, we haven't had a chance. You've been patient. You've been quiet.
Yeah.
Are you the smartest person in existence to call the death of Miramar?
I might be, right? I don't think I'm smarter than Batolins, but maybe. Like, come on, a Tego Rondo call though for today has been kind of wild, but it's all just perfectly lined up because it was T1, because it's now Twisted Minds as well. It does make sense, but I think that's what's really cool about what could potentially be this as a format in a bigger state.
Я прямо сейчас усну, наверное, на стриме.
Let's kick the tires. Let's light the fires. Let's get that plane up in the air. We're ready to Rondo!
I love the bit where he walks off with such gusto, with like menace. Rondo! Yeah. Paperthin's embracing his new role.
Keep it classy, San Diego, as he runs off the stage. That was beautiful. I feel like he's really leaning into his new role. With the bright red, great hype, and also he said, kick the tires and light the fires, and that's one of my favorite phrases of all time. So, well done, Mr. Thin. Also, I love that our boy came out and said it. Platulin, I wasn't going to say anything, but he said we only got points on Rondo at PG. Like, he's right. It was not a great event outside of Rondo for them. By and large, and to say like we're gonna own this, but also to be honest and say, hey, if we don't get the circle, we're kind of probably out of luck here. It's a worthwhile risk. I like that they took it.
All right, let's get to it. The last match of the day, Rondo, match number 5, chosen by Twisted Minds. They won the previous one, and now they are going to be dropping on test track and going to be happy from there as we follow example all the way down. And before we actually do get to what Twisted Minds can do, what might happen here, what circle we're going to get and stuff like that, I think the inclusion of Molodoct as a sub onto this roster is very interesting, and I'll tell you for why. Because in the past, oh geez Louise, this is going on, I forgot about this. We'll talk about it in a moment before we after we've dealt with this hot drop here, Toffees, because yep, T1s, they're not shy of it, and they win out the hot drops in PGC almost every time.
This, however, raises an interesting idea. If anybody is smart enough to be aware of this hot drop and keep track of it, it's Batulin. And so he picked a map that not only are they good at, but T1 is going to have to fight for their life on right out of the gate.
Oh, already lost one. Bang, bang. Just going to be playing this slow here. He has an AK, and Raining had no opportunity to be able to respond to that. The problem that arises now, though, again, is shotguns in these hot drops and the ability to be able to predict when people are coming around corners a little bit better than other scenarios. So, unfortunately, wait a minute. Lou threw something. Zhao threw something at Soul to knock him. What was this? What happened?
What did he throw? It wasn't, well, that's a shame. Maybe the highlight reels will find it one day, but Himat's going to get a nice little spot as he goes around. Shen with the double barrel is in a very good spot. Downside is it's a double, so these are smaller rooms, so you have to be careful of your barrel jump. He's going to, Himas holding the angle. He's using the closed door to try to buy a little bit of space.
Did a Tongmu also pick up something to throw at Soul to finish him? What's going on?
He did. I think they're just tossing things. They're just low on ammo.
And the kitchen sink.
He picked it back up and threw it again. Wicked gets the peek, goes for the second follow-up. They hold the angle. And that is going to be the down of Wicked as 4 AM is playing this very, very aggressive.
Anyone's Legend, a lot of hype about this roster coming in, considering Soul will be alongside Himas, but it's not really worked out too well at all for day number 1. Only 12 points on the board here. Tongmu does find Himas, and Solols is going to be the only one left alive here to really do anything about it. But 4 AM winning out on a hot drop. They've not won out on many hot drops recently because, again, they were going up against T1 when it came to Erangel. But this time around, it is looking all right, and Heaven is actually coming in from the side.
So Sololzi was down to 15 bullets. Himas is actually over there trying to drop firearms for him to switch over, and he did. He picked up his AK and a few extra rounds to try and play the defense here. As he does hold, Longzi looking to get around that wall to mess with him. They're taking turns back and forth. Sololzi gets the knock. Then he gets a Tongmu. Can he do this before the others come in? He does! He gets the triple as 4 Angry Men is gone, but now they got to worry about the freaks who are off the leash as they get ready to crash for the last kill.
Yeah, I thought maybe he was going to be running for his life. He got all 4, technically, during that entire fight. Solozzi gets all 4. That's crazy stuff from him, considering there's Himas and Soul on that team. So what a play coming out from him. Himas is... he's done. There's no way you're getting him up somehow, somewhere. And Solozzi, I don't know how you survived, my friend. Best of luck.
Только никому не говорите.
Embrace the sweet hug of death, but you know that you went out on your own terms, and that's what Solozzi will always have waiting. As the freaks come down from on high with Panzerfaust, with firearms, but Solozzi, he's not giving up just yet. He's setting the snake trap.
Yeah, it's time to hide for the most part. What can you do? Can you get in that sink? You guys previously threw the kitchen sinks at your opponents. It's time to get in one.
Where's the skibbity toilet skin?
No. Actually, to be fair, if he had like little, surveillance cameras ahead, that would assist in his abilities to figure out where they are. But anyway, Chewy, whoa, T1's gone. That's #1 out here. So they were right to avoid some of the hot drop scenarios by going double Tego.
They were indeed. And so that is a little bit of a side product of Twisted Minds picking this map. T1, their #1 rival in first place, is eliminated in the very early game. So that's going to switch it up for everyone. So Solozzi smartly leaves the house knowing the push is coming. Wants to go for the left side, but they got a Panzerfaust, and that's going to be a Pouncer dunk as DNF comes in. They're going to actually be salty. They only walked away with 1 kill from this entire thing, though. Because Solozzi knew they were coming and made the most out of it.
Yeah, at least from Solozzi, that's higher than their average points that they got in the previous games. So I'm going to take that as a win for anyone's legend.
It's a big moment for them.
Ah, yes, these up-and-comers.
They've got 1/4 of their entire day's points off the back of that hot job. Indeed. All right, so let's get back to talking about the map. Did Twisted Minds get the circle that they wanted?
3? А, ты один сдохли. Нормально. В этой катке очков не пофармит. Я вообще не заметил Т1. Это хорошо. Давай тогда еще пускай сдохнут ДНФ и пальканные твисты, ПВ. И дальше не надо. Хотя бы эти вот пару команд.
And he was saying, okay,
ой-ой-ой, это было хорошо. Голожопики. 4АМ. Ну, не все, но... Ну, это коллаж. Видали, что коллаж делает? Это все коллаж.
When it comes to IGLing. Now, Molodox has obviously been under the umbrella of the Aduzi line of thought for a long time, so maybe to slot in might be a little bit more difficult than he's letting on. I'm not saying that it's not working out, because obviously we just heard from him saying it's working out totally fine. But that's an interesting little factoid about how EMEA works, and 2 IGLs can be excellent, but just completely think in very, very different ways.
Yeah, I think if you're going to take someone from that Aduzi system, though, it's Molodoc, who is essentially their version of the machine, right? That they send out to just take care of business. I will also say, while we're on the topic, Solozzi finished that fight with 14 HP and 4 bullets left.
Только не говорите, что перо прибили Т1.
That was insane. When he made that last push, he was almost sub 10 and had 9 rounds. Shed with the double,
but it's not really
the knock. Then he gets a
all 4. That's crazy stuff from him. Consider where you're getting him up somehow, somewhere.
That you went out on your arms, but Solozzi, he's not skibbity toilet.
Whoa, T1's gone.
Перо прибили Т1.
So they were right to avoid some of the extensive roster at the moment.
То есть команда на последнем месте прибила команду на первом месте. Понимаете? Это килька, вот этот тильт закончен. Там по-любому плюс моралька. И вообще... Они займут 3-е место, я считаю. Тут видите. Ну, не сегодня, а по турниру вообще. Впереди еще 2 дня.
But it would be funny. All right, we got Banana 1. This is FW Esports. As Matt said in the last section, almost all of their points coming off of the back of one massive game. But that fits their style, right? They're going to sort of play for this placement, get themselves a good spot, and then hope that they capitalize on some of these late game fights. Up there using the glider for rotation, very, very clean for them. I think it'll get them into a good spot just outside the middle.
They are moving. They are moving. Good old Batulins. Now, it's funny when Batulins goes out and gets a glider like this, because there's been moments in EMEA where I was surprised that like FaZe had got caught off guard, because it's such a common strategy for Batulins to go off and find a glider like this.
что-то села, пока сидит.
It always works on out for them. Oftentimes they get a
Интересно,
lot of
если во время турнира
information
приспичило,
and,
они ж могут
they're able
отойти.
to spot out a lot of stuff.
Прямо во время
It's a
карты.
trap!
Минус дельфин. Смотрим.
Oh, he wished he had the Panzer out right then, I'll tell you that.
Ой, прямое попадание. Выходи, добивай, все, потому что ты сейчас сдохнешь. Хотя бы поинтик себе этот вот напарник. Тиммейтики подъехали. Все. Не, нормально, нормально. И тиммейтики ФВшников тоже подъехали. Прям под ножки граната. Хорошо было.
Tanbu pulls out another Panzerfaust because why
not?
Everyone gets one.
What's happening?
I don't know. He just didn't want to have his Panzer out anymore.
Yeah, well, Banana One is like the first person to knock someone with a gun, but then TE finishes it off in explosive fashion. Did he throw another nade? Oh no, that was a smoke to cover him.
I think we've established that the Expendables isn't quite comfortable in third person yet, so their pushes, they're focusing on explosive ordnance, right? Like, you can't weird peek me if I'm throwing Panzerfaust through your
Тут пока как начинается, что если файт, то обязательно какая-то команда проигрывает. Либо дохлая команда, либо фуловая. Ну, то есть имеется в виду, что все живые. Прикольное начало.
From some of the teams down towards the south, but for the most part, there's only one or two teams that really need to kind of scramble to get in here and deal with this. Twisted Minds.
Yes.
Okay.
Great shift.
Good.
Great shift for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolute necessity. Is they were sort of, you could see them kind of pandering around this area, going like, this is not a great compound for us.
Куда-то поехали.
And that shift did at least give them a spot to call home for a second. Tozy taking shots at Na'Vi as they go ahead and drive on by. But again, the new perspective does make driving a little less dangerous in terms of the surprise.
Тут еще одна приемочка.
So used to seeing. You can sort of scout
но это пока что один челик. И минус, ладно. Остальные далековато, они пока добегут. Но тоже не кучкуйтесь, Навик, тут кидают гранаты вообще-то. Ну, хорошая залетела, повредила всех, я считаю. Минус Хакатори тоже минус того, обменялись гранатками. Какой-то Цуй подбегает, кидает еще гранатку, это уже и еще один какой-то... Ну нет, ну куда вы начинаете сыпаться? Одного добили, второго вырубили. Все, забирайте чипики, текайте, не сможете. Конечно. Там резнулись. Опа-на, тут БГП минометчиком фигачит. Сейчас кого-то подлетит.
Yeah, I think if TE can get a closed off
Опять обмены гранатами.
I think they love nothing more. They literally go feral for an early game fight. They love it so much.
Нормально, своего добил гранаткой. Все, добивай этого нокнутого последнего, забирай чипики и сваливай. Твисты подходят, помогают. Все, минус перо. Опять тильт. Ну, 6 киллов закатку сделали, между прочим. Больше, чем кто-либо пока что. Они старались.
Yeah, it's because you have your game plan as a team, and you're like, oh, we're going to play this type of style today, and then all of a sudden, all of a sudden, Lil Ghost can get squashed.
Yeah, we'll hold for this crash because the Falcons are into the gas station right now. It looks like there was a hold from 17. Meanwhile, on the other side, this is sort of a bit of a replay of how the Expendables held this fight up against FW.
Нифига себе, они панцерфаустом друг друга жахнули.
The chaos of these little guys at the start of the fight. But Falcons just absolutely dismantling 17 here. I didn't expect them to do so well.
Shrimps with a P90, really opening that up instantaneously. Very difficult to cope with the against P90 against this position. Because the Kraken as well, kind of stuck against Twisted Minds, who have found themselves in Yulin, still pushing on through. Let's see what they can do against all of this. It is a little bit difficult here for this to be ended quickly due to the positions that they're all in. Nobody's really wanting to push through these buildings. They'll leave themselves very exposed if they go through the courtyards.
So as we watch this chess match develop, you were saying it's tough mentally when you run into a Smash Mouth team early on because of the game plan?
Showed at all, and he has a Panzer and a nade ready for them crashing. They just saw an empty compound, and T loves that. They just want them to come in so they can get the free kills.
Нет. Да, добил.
You know, again, though, that was T seeing a little bit lusty about going in and trying to get some kills out of that house, and it ends up in a backstab as JDG by himself over here, I believe.
Так, чё Нави? Один Нави? А, они вон справа вообще, они уезжали на резалку.
Anybody winning out this is still going to have to run into some pretty big teams on that west side as well. Cole trying to find any kills wherever he can. Already one on the board.
Они прямо сейчас рисуют своих типов.
Trying to drive away though. Maybe some potential free shots here for him. MK12 always a fixture. Duck Juice takes down Susie though. And now this fight is a little bit detached from one another, honestly. A little bit too scrappy here between these two teams.
Tabu gonna go up over the top. He's got a nice grenade cooked up in a good spot, but again, he's actually hard peeking up over the top of that hill. Gets a second grenade queued up, throws it up over the top, has to watch the right side as JDG's looking to get a reposition to kind of flank him from the outside position.
Спейса вырубили, как так? Спейс, опять валяешься.
Explosive ordnance and shotguns.
Yeah, a little sawn off can do wonders. That being said, though, it does expose himself here. December the 12th gets quite a few shots in. Molotov going forward, doesn't quite catch though. At the same time, an off angle here coming in to try and deal with all of this. As it's Glories on the offside.
Сжег своего.
Ties off to his own friend's Molly. Sorry, December 12th. Sometimes it happens. I know you were trying to get rid of Tanvu. It's a tough task, but oh, that nade almost got him.
Huge. Tanvu's still trying to make the play here. While we watch this, I want to give a shout out to amateurs who skipped the birth of his child to watch Michael's analysis debut. Definitely worth it, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
I agree.
I need more of you guys to have that kind of commitment. Duckjuice really making the most that he can out of this thing. But JDG, they were not interested in this fight, really. I like that they took you know what, we're just going to not force this approach to that battle.
That's okay. That's not too bad. I think that, well, the thing is, for the Expendables, they're getting a res off. So they're winning out this fight currently. It's undisputed.
The Expendables, what a fascinating switch. Remember, they've gone from, I just want to get this over with so that I can go back and replan, to let's make things go boom, and they're 6 kills into the final game already. So a nice turnaround and a nice glow up in terms of their point get here so far. Up on top, T1 being out has opened the door for DNF, Falcons, and Twisted Minds to put themselves in a race position going into our second day of play. All 3 of those teams being kind of quiet in how they're handling their early game here on Rondo.
Yeah, it's the usual suspects. Falcons, of course, in 3rd place. That's all I'll say.
I don't, they ended in 4th. Wasn't that the best save ever by Matt? Where he's like, they got 4th, and all of America.
He said it in an almost proud way, like, no, they didn't get 3rd.
And all it was just like it was an uncomfortable upside though.
Ну, я не знаю, тут со скинами какой-то большой вопрос, тут непонятно. Ну, вроде не запрещены, но какие-то носят, какие-то не носят, короче, какая-то фигня со скинами.
Cole takes 2, but Duck Juice responds with that roll up.
Very nice. December 12th going to go ahead and get that knockback on Duck Juice. We got Delwood. He wants the high ground. He's going for the unplayable. Meanwhile, Falcon's going to slide in here as they are making a nice little push. December 12th is in the ditch. So I love that H1 is going to go ahead and maximize the value there. Pushes up. Duck Juice is taken out as Molodok finishes Delwood. December 12th trying to fall back, flashing and defending.
Уезжали в него пальканы, в итоге ДНФ его привил.
Deal got that finish, which tells the Falcons a lot. If that hadn't happened, if they had gotten the flush with the grenade, I think DL would have knocked one of them as they tried to find a position here. So seeing that steal actually worked well in the Falcons' favor.
It's a big split by freaks, right? Like having Human lead the charge, be that anchor position near the road, a little bit further into the circle. The rest of them are just kind of trying to cordon off anybody that would be moving around that north side. Likewise, Navi is doing the similar thing on the northeast side. Now just making sure nobody's going to be wrapping on around. But an entry point to Yulin would be a little bit scary.
Ну, им надо где-то в Юлин заходить, в крайний домик, который...
Navi doesn't want to get into that position.
Хотя и в ЛГшке хорошо.
He was using a bicycle. I love it.
Да, в принципе, нормально.
Перетерпеть
сейчас тут... А, нет, ДНФ и...
Also, Twisted Minds has taken the compound, and they're in a massive 4-way spread. because they're not trying to hold it. They're just defensively scouting and will fall back and collapse if they're pushed. But I love that they're hold and how they're doing that right now. Falcons, on the other hand, is in a really tough spot. They've got a good ravine, but both sides are sort of susceptible to anyone who gets up to the high ground and tries to look down on them, which is what 17 is effectively trying to do right now.
Little spray through. Zhao Wu. Shao even taking down Tiggleton. That's a good scalp to take for them. They do have a bit of a leapfrog position forwards against them, though, as Falcons would like to have some kind of little bit more room forwards for it, but 17's cutting that off. Human double here against Na'Vi. Na'Vi's had no room whatsoever because DNF has been able to shut
вот и
down
ДНФ подошли.
It's been great by them.
Все, Нави хана, гранатки подлетают, ноки-переноки, стенка помогла. Что-то как-то... А что? Как в паблике, как ботиков каких-то подошли, закидали. Я даже не успел понять, что происходит.
Yeah, they've got a great shot.
Ну, я еще раз посмотрю.
That's 4 take for them. They do have a bit of a leapfrog position forwards against them, though, as Falcons would like to have some kind of little bit more room forwards for it, but 17's cutting that off. Human double here against Na'Vi. Na'Vi's had no room whatsoever.
Просто трое подошли по ЛГшке, закидали гранатами, и один сбоку.
DNF is actually playing really well at this event. They get another.
Шок.
Yeah, Fury's in a tough spot. They've got what it
Я
looks like
так
the
долго
best
ждал
spot, but it's going to get
в этой катке, что они что-то начнут
3 or
делать.
4 different sides. And so if it
И в
happens at the
итоге
same
они
time,
им 2 килличка сделали.
out of luck, right? So that is going to be one to watch. I think DNF is going to start to collapse down on Human. They've got a good position where they can hold against 17, who's progressively going to move into their spot. Falcons without a lot of options, and even less so is Begopa, who has to try to get in from the south with almost no cover and no circle time.
The arena still looking forwards into this, what is effectively this unplayable position there. I think, does Genji still have people up on top of it, or is it all, they're all on the ground now, aren't they? Yeah, they're all on the ground. Never mind.
I concur.
Вот Нави такие, знаете, они вот какие-то вот такие вот они могут, умеют, но иногда не могут, не умеют. Я не знаю, как это еще объяснить. Вот вроде все замечательно, но в каком-то моменте
I noticed they were rhetorical questions and just rolled with it. Meanwhile, E-Arena is going to get double tapped, showing just why Molotov and Example can be an excellent combo as they get those peaks up over the top. E-Arena trying to find a way to survive, but there's just no cover there.
Вроде все хорошо, но какая-то ошибка приводит к потере всего. Как бы все ошибаются, но Нави как будто ошибаются чаще.
Unless this was an intentional wraparound to try and get the off angle, that's a lot of damage coming out from Akan, though. He's going to have to back off from it, or at least go to the smoke, as, of course, the BRDM. Well, that's, okay, that's bold, and they do take out Batulins instantly. Where's the reinforcements? Lou, hit them with the Panzer! Hit them! Yep. Oh, they got out.
They jumped out. Back in. Out. Back in. They have a Panzer too.
What is going on? Oh, they exploded.
What happened? Oh, no. He got him with those last bullets.
That's wild. What the hell just happened?
Meanwhile, Korea fights Korea yet again, as it has really just been a non-stop showdown. Every time Gen G gets into a circle, there is a Korean team waiting for them, or so it seems, as they will drive around. Orca blind kills Park Pro and then reverses over his body.
It's one way to do it. That is one way to do it. As Park Pro, unfortunately for him, too much leading to do for Bagel Pass. 17 points on the day so far. Gen G, 16 points on the day. 7-0 has got himself a Lynx on the other side, putting in some damage against Shrimsy. He's gone in an instant as quickly as he was.
I hate seeing Shrimsy die, but I love seeing a Lynx in action.
Yeah, they're brutal, man.
Небольшая хорошая новость. Скоро проведем кастомки, камушки, которых давно не было.
Very happy with this circle here for a big potential capitalize.
Gonna go ahead and grind forward here.
По датам это шо у нас?
Gets involved and takes
Я думаю, в следующую пятницу
So Begapot goes down. Genji, I think, not in the best of shape, but saved by that backstab by Falcons, forcing Begapot's hand. Also, Falcons is a massive move. They were all the way over where 17 is right now. In that
уже забыл, как там это все делать.
To move to what they think is going to be a more prio position, closer to Furia.
I think what's made this doubly difficult, Toffees, is it's not a common ending location. The fact that we still have the unplayable Spire in, the fact that we have the Edge of Yulin in, it is not too common whatsoever. So for all of these teams, they're trying to figure out the perspective and also trying to figure out how on earth do we approach any teams on the other side of this or trying to wrap around on this road.
Ура, я сейчас посплю. Хотел еще салатик сделать какой-то. Мяско пожарить. Не успею.
Genji on that high ground, 4 up. This would be a big move for them as they're in 10th place. And I think you need to really be looking at this. You want to be north of that 30 mark going into tomorrow to still stay competitive. Petrichor, 4
Мне кажется, победят ДНФ. Они вот как-то начали турнир хорошо. День, точнее. И закончат день, наверное, хорошо. На втором месте 47 очков, 7 киллов уже. И они все живые, и позиция неплохая.
Can you, well, I guess, can you even get that win in the first place? But then if you can get that win, how can you capitalize on it as big as you can? Like T1 definitely did. Like, so kudos.
Гены въезжают в 17-х. Этим должны воспользоваться ДНФ и прибить 17-го, который через дорогу у них.
Trying to move on forwards is Genji going up against Zhao. He underhands the suicide. Smart stuff. Oh.
Нет, не пошли.
He's doing it again. He's doing it again. The suicide cook. You get it awful low and hope it's just far enough away.
Теперь пошли, два ДНФ и пошли мочить этого 77 Ова. Потому что он ему портит все.
Crazy as the smoke dissipates. Crazy shot coming out. This Lynx has been impactful.
Покажите ДНФ.
Can 17 continue to
Гранатка и пошел.
Gonna have something to say about this. And Guy himself, like, oh, nice. Peeks on over. Oh, down. Will more of 17 fall? They are being ripped apart on both sides here by South Korea.
Yeah, that's trouble. They were in a good spot, but getting pincered on both sides put 17 in really an untenable position, no matter how they come out on this one. Meanwhile, Twisted Minds looking to get some action as well. Salute has to fall back to support his team, but Twisted Minds is not going to allow them to go for free as Heaven is left for dead.
Definitely trying to protect their top 4 record on a rondo. That's for sure here from Twisted Minds. Obviously, they picked this map. I think that they did not have the best of circles to try and play it out from, all things considered, with the teams having gone further forwards than them, despite being in test track. But regardless, 6 kills already. Top 5 so far. Not a bad result, considering that they picked it. And Example's still looking for more, still sending some nades forwards against DNF, who is now tied in points here with T1, but doesn't quite have the placements to take on over. But now with these extra kills, maybe if they get the flushes, they will be number 1.
DL put in some work to get that knock. They want to move up.
Блин, ну ДНФ вообще никого не щадят.
4-17, but the boys are not taking risks. Freaks is going to very slowly push this and make sure that any trades work in their favor. Lou gets Example to the safety spot. What a sacrifice. What a man. What a legend.
Furia has just such a citadel that they can hold out on. Cumin with
Теперь
another one
надо
on
им
show.
возвращаться к своему тому одиночке, оттуда отыгрывать, додавливать твистов. А почему из них болею? Я не болею. Просто мысли вслух, что делать дальше.
And Twisted Minds once again the top 4.
There is a reason they call him Zoomin' Gumin, as he comes away with a good amount of points. Twisted Minds in the top 4 looking good, but Furia's compound, as you said, no one wanted to risk pushing it. There's too many places to hide, so everyone fought on the fringes, and Furia, in a spot that I don't think would have been left alone in a traditional FPP tournament, gets away with it because no one wants to dig them out.
Invitational.
Well, one's already dug out. Poser's gone. That's not a good start for them. They should have been able to hold this with a bit more fortitude, a bit stronger, as now there's going to be threats from multiple sides coming on in. How can Furia deal with this? They're going to be knocking at the door every single angle.
Posa is going to get flushed. Bean has been playing very, very well here as we said the blue zone go up. Gazera using that low ground position. He's got an M249 on his back if he believes in accuracy through volume.
Конечно, не выиграл я ничего.
Stands up, going to try to run for a little bit of safety.
Кто побеждает? Побеждают ДНФ. ДНФ.
I heard that Topos does a great impression of a M249. As I'm not gonna let him do it.
150 times.
Oh god, that was so good. I really felt like I was in the moment. Jeez.
As a throwback to Masters West 2, if I remember correctly. Salute with a nice little flash. Going to try to throw that up over the top. Furia being defensive, and I understand why, but it is so hard for me to reprogram the mental that I'm used to like get behind these defensive late game plays. But I think that that's the way you have to do it, right?
Блин, это будет долго.
There was just too many buildings and too many.
Хотя следующая фаза уже точка.
They were too spread out across this compound, and letting one just go for free really scuppers a lot of their plans. I mean, yeah, they've got an MG3 in hand. That's dangerous. That's deadly. But now you can see how much they've fallen back from just that one knock. Example, man, stop it.
No, you do you, Example. This guy's a legend. He is the best. The players call him the robot because all he's ever focused on is absolute winning. And so far, Twisted Minds, who I think, you know, they got Molodok as a sub. I guarantee they did not spend the run-up to PGC preparing as much for this strategic transition. Are showing out incredibly well. Now, part of that is getting that Rondo call, playing a good map on the last one. But these guys, no matter what the format, no matter what the map, no matter what the game, I'm always impressed with the way they approach it.
Hey, Example's the only guy with a PGS, a PGC, an EWC.
Да, по времени этот турнир выходит так же, как и прошлый, где было 6 каток. Что-то они вначале тянули долго.
There's a few contenders. I mean, I'm EMEA biased, right, to a degree. So I think I probably would put Example as that guy because he's the only guy with all the titles. And, you know, whenever you pick him up fancy, he's always doing your damage for you. It doesn't matter if he's getting the kills or not. He's always doing your damage. So probably still. But I think that as multiple years go on, maybe there'll be some contenders. I definitely think of some names that could easily contend down the line.
Interesting. I like that. I do think that that's that world where we're kind of, you know, as we transition to TPP, that sort of status of who was the greatest.
Ну, ДНФ, один из ДНФов.
It's going to be impossible not to have.
Ага, твист, Лу и вот этот вот салюте ближе всего к центру. К точке.
Oh yeah, they'll be looking for you. They will be hunting you down. They'll be getting the kills alongside Lou, who apparently is a bit sick, but that's fine because he's still Lou. He's still good at the game.
The professor doesn't need to be healthy, all right? He transcends basic thought. The man, the myth, the legend with Salute, another myth, another legend crawling around above him. Bean has been a problem for Furia specifically.
Yeah, it's all falling apart for Furia. Furia should have been able to hold this technically a little bit easier. However, again, I will say it is such a huge compound to try and hold. Flame takes down Example, though. It's all on Lou. They don't quite know where he is. He hasn't made too much noise around this position, although if Salute's trying to peek on over this, that'd be crazy if he eventually saw him. I don't think he can, though. He's under a lip.
Yeah. The Nox scouting really, really strong here in this format, especially on the high ground that he is right now. Lou trying to decide if he wants to have the Panzerfaust out or a gun. You can see the push coming from above him. He's hoping they'll see each other and fight and just leave him alone for a second as he prepares the Panzer Blast. That's a bold res.
But there's a world where Lou just gets second place guaranteed off of this because he's quite close to the center and the rest are going to get crunched in on one another unless somebody goes down to the low ground. But I don't see a reason why anybody would at this point in time. They know that other people are up here. If you go down to the low ground, you're basically sacrificing your game in trying to go. Oh, he throws the gas can here and pops it. Damn.
It's smart, though. It stops them from pushing towards the dot. It's going to slow them down and buy them a little bit of space for Freaks to fight with Gen G. Furia is going to have to sort of wait for that to dissipate. Human goes ahead and gets flashed. Bean with a nice jump peek. He's going to get knocked and may go to the low ground, but he dies before he can give away the position. Freaks making a massive play.
Huge stuff here from them. They were
Он успел перед смертью в прыжке с обреза вырубить типа. Он успел. Но добьют его другие, наверное. Либо не добьют вообще. А что там твист? Он за зоной там в камушках.
Lou's still on the dot, though. He's looking for DNF playing out of their mind. Locks out Furia. Twisted Minds finally goes down.
Получается, дотечь не успел тот, кого прибил в прыжке перед смертью. Ну, прикольный был мув такой. Ладно, все. Все 5 каток прошли. ДНФ в итоге победители первого дня. Они дополнительно получают еще 5000 баксов. Получается 1000 за топ-1 этой катки, 5000 за первое место за день. Плюс за киллы каждый килл по 100 баксов. Всем спасибо, кто был на стриме. Всем до вечера. Я пошел посплю. Надо пару часиков поспать. Я уже не могу.
And have the choice of first map going into tomorrow, I do believe. So